If aliens are listening out there, then please beam messages into my head.
Very, very early morning sports radio for postmen, trolley dollies,
out of a dirt ship, Prestwick,
and anyone who had to do a dawn runner after a very ill-advised one-night stand.
Go, go, go.
Over my dead body.
The two mics on Talk Sport.
Look at the light.
Don't worry about the time, mate, when 150,000 penguins are at risk. When you're at 50 miles above the earth, you think it really matters whether you're a Jack Russell or a Spaniel. It don't matter, man.
Well, it does.
You're a dog in space, you don't suddenly think to yourself, I'm a Spaniel.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. And I'm not going to hear a bad word from you tonight about Gary Neville. Do you understand?
Why is that?
I was the guy who said that Gary Neville...
Yeah, he said he'd be a great success.
If he wanted to become the Mayor of London, if he wanted to become the Dalai Lama, he could become the Mayor of London or the Dalai Lama. That's how
I don't think you can become either of those things.
Is.
Neither of those things.
That's how positive the guy is. That's
it's
how
all very well being
single-minded he is. That's his approach to life.
You can be as positive as you like. He left a very successful job at Sky to take up a job in which he has been incredibly unsuccessful and has now therefore tainted whatever it was that his talent was. When he comes back to start telling everybody how the formation should be working, how the team should be playing, how the chalkboard should be working now on the screen, people are going to laugh at him and say, what the hell does he know?
No, he took up a challenge. It's something you don't know about, Mike. You know, your life
I took up the challenge of working with you. That's a big enough challenge for me, thanks
your
very
life
much.
is based entirely on, I'm ticking along here, it's going okay, I
You're
don't
just
see a
upset
problem.
that you got something else wrong.
I've got enough money to buy a few bottles of champagne a week and 40 fags a day.
Yeah, true.
I can get down and see my children a couple of times a week. That'll take care of my domestic responsibilities. Why should I have any ambitions?
Why are you turning this on me suddenly?
Why are
you suddenly attacking me?
Why should I have any ambitions to do anything better? Why should I have any ambitions to improve myself? Why should I have any ambitions to try and show the world that I can do more things than just be a sloth? But that never occurs to you. That never occurs to you at all.
So this is your answer to why you got it completely and utterly wrong about Gary Neville?
I didn't get it completely and utterly wrong. I got it completely and utterly right.
You said he was going to be a massive success.
No, listen, what the boy has done is he's realised it hasn't worked out and he's held his hands up. He said, I'm sorry, I've been so bad. But
well, he hasn't held his hands up. He's been fired.
But if
he's been fired.
If you look at the tweet I put out
tonight... Is he going to be like
tonight,
you? Like, you've never been fired in your life, right? That's what you always say. He's going to walk around and say, no, I've held up my hands and said I wasn't good enough for the job.
Yes.
No, he was fired.
Well, if you'd have seen my tweet earlier, you'd have seen what I said.
I see all your tweets, don't worry.
I would have said that in 5 years' time, Gary Neville will be a major force in management in this country, possibly even at Manchester United, and that we will then look back and we will see the Valencia experience as the start of the learning curve, OK?
Well, he hasn't gone very far across the learning curve, has he, so far?
You wouldn't take a chance on changing your shoes rather than changing your job.
You seem to forget that I was the guy. You seem to forget that I was the guy.
The ambition.
Stop ranting and raving on like some demented midget. Let me tell you something, right? I'm the first person you ever met, am I not? Tell me this. Am I not the first person you ever met who'd actually picked up on his own, gone to New York at the age of 23, without the cosseted lifestyle of a staff job at the Daily Express, without, in fact, any kind of, somehow a safety net that you had of all the money that was being given to you so that you could make a fortune
that's
while being paid.
Quality.
No, that's not the point. You didn't do it when you were 23. That was the biggest chance of my life, and that was where I made a massive gamble. And I get it paid off.
Yeah, but those days are long gone. I mean, that ship has sailed.
Which ship?
The days of your endeavour and energy and setting yourself up as an individual businessman in your early 20s, I mean...
businessman?
I think that completely knackered you for life.
Is that what you think?
Well, how come you went from being, a slim, rather dynamic young businessman to a fat slob, which is what you are now, smoking 40 fags a day?
That's true, actually. When I met you first, you were already a fat slob.
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't. I've never been fat slob.
You've never been a fat slob?
Never.
How much do you weigh now?
That's irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. You have to remember that whatever my bodily shape and form looks like is a direct consequence of the fact that only 1/3 of my heart works.
So you keep saying.
Well, I mean, it's true. That's that is a fact of life.
So you keep saying, but we see no evidence of this illness of yours.
Well, you see no evidence?
No.
Well, what do you want me to do? Walk around with a sign on my head saying only 1/3 of my heart works?
I expect you to behave like somebody who's got some illness as opposed to somebody who has nothing wrong with them.
On a
who
daily...
is able to go to Cheltenham without any sleep and have quite a substantial amount of wine and champagne and all the rest of it and appear to have no ill effects.
Should I wear a sign on my head saying, on a daily basis, I am battling the crippling disease,
I think you should,
dilated cardio... Sorry,
What's it
myopathy.
Yeah.
Dilated cardiomyopathy.
I think you should, yeah.
But
Please
I don't
call Dr. Banner if you see me in any distress.
I don't tell the world about it much. I just grit my teeth and get on with it, despite the fact that I could collapse and die at any moment. I do not make a big issue of it.
But you don't collapse and die at any moment, and you haven't collapsed.
Would you like me to?
Well, you haven't collapsed, have you, for many years?
Well,
there's nothing wrong with you.
That's because I have to regulate my lifestyle, unlike you.
Yeah, but you don't regulate it. That's my point.
I'm not just a fat sponge.
You don't regulate it.
That takes in drink, that takes in cigarettes and tobacco, that takes in nefarious substances.
What is the purpose of your life, then, exactly?
That takes in as much food as I want. Tell me. Little about my weight.
Tell me. Well, I'm not asking you how much you weigh. I'm happy to tell you how much I weigh, but you seem to be incapable of doing so.
Mine's variable.
Variable? Between what?
Variable.
17 and 18 stone?
No, you idiot. It's nothing like that. It's variable because of the complicated makeup of my constituent parts of my anatomy.
Oh, right. Whatever that means.
It's
hey, by the way, have you seen that your friend, Saran Jones, is up on the Best Actress BAFTA award? She's on the front page of some of the papers.
Now, has
today.
she got one, or she'd be nominated?
Yeah, I think she's up for it.
No, I mean, but she actually got it yet, or what?
Well, I think she did get it, yeah, because she was nominated as Best Actress, and I think last night was the BAFTA Awards,
No.
I thought the BAFTA Awards were last night.
No, she's been nominated. They're nominees.
Oh, well, did they not have the results of it all?
No, they didn't have the results of the awards. They're nominees, you idiot.
Oh, okay.
And so the nominees are, she's up against Sheridan Smith. So Suran Jones, Dr. Foster, and, of course, Scott and Bailey, which is the great TV series. By the way, the number of TV series based in the north of England now is getting more and more.
But are they filming them all up there, though? I mean, in like studio
Of course they are, because they're based in the north of England.
I don't mean on location, I mean in the studios.
No.
Is it somehow Northern Powerhouse thing going on?
I don't think so. I used to do a Thursday night show on Yorkshire TV with Andy Townsend, OK?
A Thursday night show?
Thursday night TV show, yeah.
Well,
football.
about what?
Football. It was a half-hour show.
On Yorkshire TV?
On Yorkshire TV.
What happened to that?
Well, I'm about to tell you. And the Yorkshire TV studios were on the dual carriageway just going out of Leeds, just beyond the big building on the roundabout where the Yorkshire Post and the Evening Post were based. It was a big media centre. We used to go up there and do it, and they had this fantastic free canteen where you could eat anything you wanted, and a fantastic green room which had so much booze in it. It was like, the bar at the Savoy, honestly. It was unbelievable. And we do this half-hour show. And actually, I started doing it with Al, Mr. Brazil.
Oh, yeah.
And what happened was, a car would come and pick us up and take us to Yorkshire, right?
Yeah. Well, from here?
Oh, from here, yeah. With about 6 bottles of wine in it.
Yeah.
And then we'd get to Yorkshire, and then we'd spend a couple of hours in the green room.
Well, they let you drink all that before you went on the air.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And then food would be brought in from this fantastic sort of restaurant they had there. It's all free.
Right.
And then we'd do the half-hour show.
Right.
And then we'd spend...
No wonder it didn't last long, this show.
Well, and then we'd spend an hour and a half in the green room, right?
Right.
Talking to our guests for an hour and a half.
Because they liked some more wine.
Yeah, they liked a lot of free booze as well.
Yeah.
And who was...
And what sort of guests did you have on the show?
I was about to say...
Well, like ex-footballers and stuff.
Well, ex-footballers, but local politicians as well.
Really?
So I'm
So it wasn't just a football show, then?
I'm sure David Blunkett was there one night. Maybe he was doing the show before us or something like that, But anyway...
Your recollections of it are a bit hazy, by the sound
A bit hazy, but then we got back in the car and another 4-hour drive back to London to resume the breakfast show with another 6 bottles of wine. It was amazing.
Right. And you wonder why you've got dilated cardiomyopathy.
Well, I mean, I didn't have it in those days. So anyway,
no, I know you didn't.
So anyway,
that's where you got it.
But anyway, that gives you a picture of sort of television in the north. But anyway, so Suran Jones is up against one of Britain's favourite actresses, who's Sheridan Smith.
Yeah.
And she's very famous indeed, for Scylla.
Yes.
Isn't she?
Is she?
Yes.
Scylla?
Yes. But in this one, she's nominated for something called the C Word.
What's Scylla?
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, you mean Scylla, the show
Scylla
about Scylla
Black, you idiot.
Well, that was like a one-off thing, wasn't it?
What?
It wasn't like a series, was it?
Yeah, it was a one-off, but it was very, very good. So that's interesting, isn't it, eh?
Well, it's not that interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I mention it is because it's Porkyvision night tonight, and so there will be a certain sort of focus on the television world.
Well,
and a couple of people have already tweeted in to say my other half hasn't seen the final episode of Night Manager, please.
Right,
so can you please not give away the ending?
Well, the problem is I had a bit of a big problem with Porkyvision this week.
Did you?
It's a bit embarrassing.
Why?
Really.
What happened?
Well,
television blown up.
No. I mean, I might as well tell you. We don't have to wait until Porkyvision. But the great new programme this week was Maygrey, right? Maygrey.
Yeah. Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a
What
problem
do you mean?
with it.
What, you didn't see it?
Well...
How is that a problem?
Well...
You don't normally see anything you talk about.
Well, you see...
Why are you being so reticent?
I think I'll tell you in a minute.
All right. OK, well, hold on to that thought. He is Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham, with the two mics. Loads more coming up.
The two mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. It is, of course, Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on. Tomorrow, Porky Quiz Night. It's on the Crimean War.
Crimean War, yes. Yes.
Got a lot of people having a go at you for having a go at me, I have to say, on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Here's one from Gary in Glasgow. He says, Gary Neville has lost all credibility, not only as a coach, but as a pundit. Yeah. The appointment of him as at Valencia was a recipe for disaster. And Glenn in Ealing says, why not criticise Gary Neville? He sat behind a video desk and criticised others. Not much fun, eh, Gary? And Woodenhead says, why is Porky on Clash of the Titans when he knows nothing? Wrong about Sterling, wrong about Neville, wrong about Ranieri.
Yeah, really? Well, that's only your opinion. Who's that from?
That's from Woodenhead.
OK, Woodenhead. Well, I wonder why you're called Woodenhead, eh?
He calls himself Woodenhead.
Yeah. Perhaps the clue is in the wooden bit. In the wooden bit, eh? No.
I've got some more here. Well, Lord Vralo says, what's the point of asking Porky's opinion? He never owns up to being wrong. The man is a real sociopath.
Yeah, sociopath? No, I'm not a sociopath.
Abdul says, whenever Porky predicts something to be successful and it goes wrong, he blames MG and everyone but himself. Shocking.
No, that's not the case. Look, if Gary Neville wanted to go back to Sky, I'd go back to Sky, welcome him with open arms.
I'm sure they
right?
would do. But
no problem at all.
But his brand is now slightly tainted.
No, it's not.
Why
Gareth
do you not agree with
Southgate, right? Gareth Southgate goes out into the world and becomes...
Southgate wasn't anywhere near as good as Gary Neville.
Thank you. And I was about to tell you that.
That's the point.
So he goes out into the world and he becomes Middlesbrough manager, his first appointment, as manager.
Yeah.
And he's hopeless.
But you've got something against Gareth Southgate.
Well, no,
you
he's just
always raise him, though, don't you?
And after about 6 games, he started talking to interviewers about, obviously my job's under the spotlight and I accept that, it's a results business, usual sort of garbage that these guys speak. And
so you're very dismissive of him, though.
Yeah, well, hang on. And sure enough, he gets sacked. So then he goes back into the pundit studio. I think it was on ITV, wasn't it? He was a member of the panel of three or something like that in Champions League. And then he did quite a few England games as well, didn't he? And then managerial opportunity comes again. You hear this noise. That's people knocking on the door.
Right, okay.
And all of a sudden he goes and becomes under-21 manager for England.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what happens? They get some bad results, and suddenly his position is reaffirmed.
Yeah, well, because he was also in charge of all the other.
He's not in charge as much. So all I'm saying is, some people bounce between TV studios and coaching, and TV studios and coaching on a regular basis.
Well, that's one person. So that's one person.
Alan Shearer came out of the.
He went to manage Newcastle, which was also a mistake.
Yeah, was unable to rescue Newcastle. Went back into the TV studio.
But he was tainted slightly by that.
You see, the people who I've got the most respect for are people like Alan Hansen.
Yeah.
And Gary Lineker.
Right.
Because when both asked over the years, have you ever fancied coaching? I remember Gary Lineker's response was, no. He says, at the moment, I work 3 days a week and play golf 2 days a week. That suits me fine. Thank you very much.
What about the other 2?
Sorry?
That's only 5 days.
Yeah, so?
Well, there's 7 days in a week.
Well, you get 2 family days, don't you, Saturday and Sunday?
He didn't say that, though, did he?
I'm just told you what he told me.
So it's all right for him to have 2 family days, but not me. You criticise me for only spending some time of the week with my family.
No, his is a grown-up family off his hands. You know
I
have
a grown-up family as
you've
well.
Got young boys. You've got young boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to Alan Hansen. Alan Hansen said exactly the same. He said, I can play golf 4 times a week. He's like playing golf. Very good golfer, old Jockey, as he was known. Was he known as Jockey?
Jockey? Who?
Hansen.
Jockey?
Yeah.
No, he was never known as Jockey.
He was, yeah.
No, he wasn't.
He was.
No, you're thinking about Jockey Wilson.
No, I'm thinking about Alan Hansen.
Who used to call him Jockey?
Well, Alan Brazil did. He played the same, Scottish team as him.
Really?
Yeah.
What, so they all call each other Jockey?
So I think
on the basis they could all be jocks.
No. Brazil was known as Bazza.
Right. Bazza and Jockey.
Yeah, Bazza and Jockey. I play for Scotland.
Well, why would you call a particular player for Scotland Jockey when they could all technically be called that?
Well, I have no idea. I can't tell you that. All I know is I wasn't in the dressing room at the time when they gave him the moniker, OK?
Very unsatisfactory.
Anyway, what I'm saying is...
Anyway, so you're saying, basically, that you've got the most respect that you have is for pundits who never go into coaching.
The most respect I have is for a pundit who doesn't think that they've got to apologise for being a pundit and not a coach.
Right.
Now,
so
Gary
why
Neville,
have you got any respect for Gary Neville? Because that's exactly what he did.
Well, I think the story will come out one day as to why Gary Neville suddenly thought he had to become a coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never, ever understood why he made a statement saying my credibility would get shot if I don't take this job at Valencia. I mean, the Valencia job was a million miles away. He didn't have to take the Valencia job at all.
He didn't have to, but
it was
he did
his friendship with Peter Lim, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he did take the job, and he's made a dog's breakfast of it.
Yeah, well, he should have taken it in the first place, in my view. Right. But having said that...
But having now proved himself to be a pretty useless manager, how can he now criticise other managers?
No, what I'm going to say is, having said that I don't think he had to take it, I'm not sure why he did, the fact is he's a very brave man for having done that and stepping out of the protective bubble of punditry, which he was very good at, and going into the raging maelstrom of football coaching in another country, speaking another language. It's an incredibly brave thing to do. And so what I'm saying is, even though it didn't work out for him, it's proved that the man has got so much emotional courage that he can go back and do punditry any time he likes, or anything else. Remember, this guy's got a multi-million-pound building company, a development company, property development, you know.
Oh, you like him because he's a success financially?
I like him because he is a success, yeah. Yeah, I like successful people. Well, I don't like bums. I don't like losers.
Speaking of
I
people
like successful people.
Speaking of people who are not a success, why don't you tell us what you've managed to mangle on Porky Vision tonight, then? What have you managed to mangle?
Well, what happened was, I didn't mangle anything. What happened was, I have to admit that in the midst of my current phase of diet and non-drink...
Diet? What, you're still not drinking?
No,
that's why you're so grumpy.
No. I did fall off...
How long has it been now?
10 days.
10 days?
10 days, yeah. However, I am prepared to admit I did fall off the wagon last Saturday evening.
Did you? You told me you didn't have a drink over the weekend.
Well, I forgot that.
So that was a lie?
No, I forgot that I had a slight drink. Now, what happened was, I then decided to set up my review programmes for the week for Porky Vision. I do on every Saturday.
Oh, what, you mean you had to program the machine?
Yes, exactly.
I can imagine that's always a bit of a struggle for you.
Now, what happened was, I thought, Maigret, Rowan Atkinson, this is going to be the programme that people want to know about.
Yes.
So I will examine this.
Right.
So I stuck it on, okay? Anyway, yesterday morning...
So what do you have to do as far as your, as far as kind of tuning your boxes?
You go on to Skybox.
Yeah, what do you do?
You go plus 24, plus 24, plus 24, get to the day that the programme's on, and then hit the R, which is record, and then it automatically records it.
Okay.
See?
No problem. That all went fine then?
Oh, it all goes fine. I know exactly how to do that. I can record about, 4 programmes at once.
Yeah.
And I can record altogether 100 programmes.
100?
Yes.
And then you have to start getting rid of some, though, if it gets full up.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's true, yeah. So I thought this is brilliant. So yesterday morning I sat down to review Maigret.
Yeah.
So what happens is I'm watching it closely, beady-eyed.
Yeah.
And for the first 30 minutes, I keep waiting for old Rowan Atkinson to walk through the door. Because I think, he's got to appear at some stage.
Well, you would think, yeah.
Well, the thing is, you see, I'm thinking, this is Columbo style. In some Columbo programmes, do you know that Peter Falk didn't appear until halfway through the show?
Is it as late as that?
In one, it was exactly halfway through the show. Because they set up the actual crime itself so brilliantly at the start, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the old shambling wreck of a detective suddenly turns up with his cigar. Hello, ma'am. You got an ashtray, ma'am?
Yeah.
Can I light a cigarette in here? Do you mind if I smoke? And all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was pretty good, that, wasn't it?
It wasn't bad.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking this is a delayed drop.
Yeah.
However, I'm aware of another bloke who appears to be a detective. And I'm thinking...
Did it appear to be set in the same time frame as Maigret?
Absolutely.
Victorian costumes and all this kind of thing?
No. Maigret was the 50s.
No, was it?
Paris in the 50s.
Okay.
And by the way, the architecture was all brilliant and all that. I love Paris. It was a great city, particularly in the 50s when it was full of...
What's your favourite arrondissement?
I would say my favourite arrondissement is probably the L'Arc de Triomphe.
I was looking for a number.
No. L'Arc de Triomphe.
I was looking for a number.
At the top
what arrondissement is that in?
Of the Champs-Elysees.
Yeah, but what arrondissement is that
7.
in? 7?
7.
Okay, so your favourite. All right.
Yeah. So, anyway... Oh, by the way, in those days, in the 50s, the French women, so elegant in their silk stockings and high heels.
How do you know they were wearing stockings?
Well, you imagine they are.
Just imagine they are.
And all this kind of stuff.
So what were you actually watching?
Well, I was watching Maigret, but the thing is, I'd made a bit of a mistake.
Really?
What I didn't realise was
Not for the first time.
What I didn't realise was that Maigret Rowan Atkinson is brand new.
Yeah.
And I'd managed to record Maigret, made 20 years ago, with a guy called Michael Gambon, is it?
Michael Gambon.
Michael Gambon.
Yeah, probably more than 20 years ago.
More than 20 years ago. And it was on, one of these Sky, history programmes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it took me, 3/4 of an hour to work out I was watching the wrong programme.
Oh, dear.
So now...
Well, you can review that one if you like.
Well... I mean, you know, the Porkyvision thing's been skewed a bit, but nevertheless, I've had to catch up and watch other programmes to make up for it.
Right.
So it will be a full Porkyvision section of the show later on.
Oh, okay? All right, good.
No problembo at all.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to talk to you about is, are you a particular fan of country music?
I wouldn't say so, no. There are some country songs that I quite like, and there are one or two country artists that I would listen to. But I'm not a fan of country music.
I wonder if your elder children are, because country music in this country is becoming an absolute craze.
Is it?
Oh, I'm telling you.
It's the biggest market in America.
Well,
you know that, right?
Well, what they're doing is the Americans are actually targeting Britain and saying that, you know, there's a market over there which we haven't hit in the past. And do you know who's leading the... Do you know who's being asked to start sort of making country records?
Who?
Taylor Swift.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Taylor Swift, you would say, has probably always had a slight country twinge.
Well, she's being told to do it. Right, the Country Music Association, based in Nashville, Tennessee, has made a push into Britain where it calculates there are at least 5 million country fans with strongholds in Scotland and London. Now, I don't remember last time I was in Scotland seeing a load of sort of Willie what's-her-name type impersonators.
Willie who?
Willie, you know.
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson, yeah, because he's the king of the
I mean, funnily enough,
country.
I mean, country music and folk
Johnny
music.
Cash impersonators
because
in Socky Hall Street.
Well, the thing about country
Glasgow
music is that it's not dissimilar to a lot of folk music. And a lot of folk music in Scotland is similar to country music, so there is a bit of a crossover there.
It says,
I'm surprised you're surprised.
No, 39% of British music fans listen to country music at least once a month, a survey has revealed.
Yeah.
See, I don't get all this. I don't get all
Well, you like Dolly Parton, don't you?
Dolly Parton, I like singing Jolene, but that's not a country record. That's a great song.
Yeah,
no, it's a great song.
It's a country
I
record.
cannot stand country music. I went out with a woman once, right, and everything was going hunky-dory until she told me she went line dancing. You know, she was very fit, actually, and I told her how she kept fit.
Who's
This lady I was going out with.
What's her name?
I can't reveal that, I'm sorry.
What do you mean you can't reveal it?
I don't think I should.
What, do you think I know her?
You might.
Really?
Might. But anyway, and she went line dancing.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, only Burks dress up in cowboy hats.
You're too short to go line dancing.
Don't be ridiculous, you idiot.
You are. You can't be short. You have to be a tall man to do line dancing properly.
No, you don't.
Yes,
don't be ridiculous.
You have to be at least 5'9.5".
That was the only time I switched Dallas off, when they all went in the barn and started line dancing.
Right.
You know, old Bobby Ewing and all that.
There was plenty of country music in Dallas.
Yeah, there was. They used to have the barbecue at Southport, and then they all started line dancing and all that. But people who go line dancing are, frankly, weirdos. Yeah. Because, you know, to dress up in a like a cowboy, you know, check shirt.
They don't dress
and
up.
The hat. No, they do.
No,
they do. I've seen it.
They're already cowboys.
No, I'm talking about in this country.
Oh, right.
We don't have cowboys in this country.
No,
so
true.
go line dance in this country. You have to put your cowboy boots on. I've got a pair, by the way. Bought them in Austin, in Texas.
Yeah, I know. You told us about
where we were
this
doing the
before.
Waco
You should wear them one
thing.
time.
Well,
I've got a funny story to tell you about Nashville, actually.
Oh, Nashville, Tennessee, yeah, be good. So all I'm saying is that I don't think that the drive to make country music popular in this country will take off. Country music is vacuous to me. It's like it really is hillbilly stuff. It reminds me of hillbillies.
Yeah, but you're the man who so far this week has told us that you don't think Mick Jagger should be performing anymore. You think you are the better at broadcasting Laurence Olivier was at acting. I mean, you know, the litany of your big-headedness has grown far and wide.
What?
And I think you're wrong about country music, actually, because some country music is very good. And some of the songs that have been written in country format are very good.
Did you know there's a massive, great O2 Country Music Festival taking place soon? It's called the C2C Festival. The tickets sold at the O2. The tickets sold like massively and they're moving it on to Dublin and Glasgow.
Yeah. Well,
60,000 tickets.
Yeah, country artists make an absolute fortune. You should be in admiration of them because they're very successful. But hold that thought. We'll be back very shortly. We are the Two Bikes.
Indeed.
Get the job done on Talk Sport with Tool Station. Will Spain reign again?
And Spain are into the lead.
Are France in with a chance? Or will the Three Lions finally rule? As the International League prepare to go head-to-head to lift the biggest prize in European football, join Hawksby and Jacobs every Monday from 1 to find out which team can get the job done. We wait for Euro 2016 on Talk Sport with Tool Station. Low prices on top trade brands. Open late 7 days a week. Find your nearest branch at toolstation.com.
It's how London buys its cars. Car Giant. If you thought your dream car was out of your price range, you could be in for a giant surprise.
Car Giant, of course.
Car Giant.
Car Giant!
Car Giant has up to 8,000 used cars in stock, including BMW, Audi and Mercedes, so you can buy a badge on a budget. Car Giant in White City. Visit cargiant.co.uk.
It's how London buys its cars. Car Giant.
Deciding which direction to take with your pension can be a bit nerve-wracking, but PensionWise is here to guide you. Set up by the government, we offer free, impartial guidance on the routes you could take and what to watch out for. Book a telephone or face-to-face appointment now with one of our friendly team. Call 0800 138 1888. PensionWise. Your money, your choice.
Make sure you're ahead of the game and listen to Kick Off on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Tonight from 7, get in-depth analysis, heavyweight pundit opinion and outspoken fan reaction on the nation's most passionate pre-match football forum.
You won't miss a trick, flick or kick of any of the action.
Plus, hear the latest form and odds ahead of all the matches that matter from 888 Sport's On The Ball Bet Spurt. Kick Off, weeknights from 7 on Talk Sport with 888 Sport. Bet you can. Please gamble responsibly.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
I've been to Louisville, Nashville, Knoxville, Omaha, Shefferville, Jacksonville, Waterville, Costa Rica, Pittsfield, Springfield, Bakersfield, Shreveport, Hackensack, Cadillac, Fond du Lac, Davenport, Idaho, Jellicoe, Argentina, Diamantina, Pasadena, Catalina, see what I mean? I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere.
See, that's a great song to me. You don't think that's a great song? Well, that's a country song.
Is that Johnny Cash?
It's Johnny Cash. It's a country song.
Okay, but the sort of country songs I can't stand are, Stand By Your Man.
Tammy Wynette.
That's right, yeah.
What's wrong with that? What about the Dixie Chicks?
The Dixie Chicks, forget it, man. Apparently, what I've omitted to tell our audience of millions...
Well, I imagine there's many things you've omitted to tell them.
...is that Dolly Parton, of course, was a hit at Glastonbury. When was that? Was that last year?
Dolly Parton was at Glastonbury, yeah.
Yeah?
I think it was last year.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Dolly Parton is sort of universally loved by almost everyone.
What?
Because she's kind of...
Oh, yeah, no, I like Dolly Parton.
She's over and above country music.
Oh, she made another great record called Islands in the Stream.
Yeah.
She did it with Kenny Rogers,
that's
right?
That's also a country music song.
Well, it's not.
Yes,
it's a nice song. It's not a country song.
I mean, Neil Diamond started out as a country musician.
Sung blue...
Yeah.
Everybody knows
singing all this stuff. Anyway, do you want to hear my Nashville story?
I
was in Nashville, Tennessee, where they have this place called the Grand Ole Opry, and everywhere you go, it is country music city.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know, it's incredible. I've been at the High Street there, and everything's a music studio.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. And I was in a bar with this photographer that I was working with.
Yeah.
I can't remember what we were doing there. I can't remember what the story was. Anyway, we're in this bar, and this song came on. Do you remember the Charlie Daniels Band?
No.
The Devil Goes Down to Georgia, I think the song was.
Oh, The Devil Goes Down to Georgia.
Yeah, and they've got the mad sort of fiddling going on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's right. Which is actually not a terrible song.
Yeah, no, exactly.
As those kind of songs go. But I was standing at the bar with this guy, and I was ranting about how I hated the Charlie Daniels Band. I really just thought they were the worst thing that anybody had ever heard. It was awful. I hate this song. This guy tapped me on the shoulder, and he said to me, "Hey, we are the Charlie Daniels Band."
No.
They were in the bar.
No.
I'm not joking.
No, you're joking.
I'm not joking, because it turns out it was around the corner from me. I had to make a rather hasty retreat.
I'm not surprised.
From the place, because they weren't very impressed by the fact that this limey had turned up.
I'm not
surprised. They didn't apparently like
slagging them off.
Country music very much.
That's terrible. I wish you could be more diplomatic when you're abroad, honestly.
Well,
really
these things can happen.
Disgraceful.
Now, here's a couple more tweets for you.
Right.
Here's one from David in Essex. He says, Mike, so Porky's never been fat, so why did he tell the Daily Mail in 2008 that he was 17 stone before he took up walking in 2005, aged 49?
What?
Well, he's obviously reading from that Daily Mail interview you gave.
Well, that was... Well, I got fat, and that's how
you did get fat?
No, that's how I recognised my heart had gone. What had happened
I thought you recognised your heart had gone when you collapsed.
My heart was down to just 15% of working, right?
Yeah.
That's even lower than 1/3. And
is it?
Yeah. And
the third is what, 33 1/3%.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah. And my body was filling up with fluids which weren't moving anywhere.
It does that every day.
No, which weren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I did get fat, and that's how I realised that I was very desperately, seriously ill, critically almost. And that's why they had to pump 7 litres of water out of my system. What's your problem?
I just can't imagine them pumping 7 litre water.
Yeah, they did.
Did you immediately go down to about 7 stone?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I mean, the water.
How long did it take to get all that water out of you?
About a day.
Really?
And they put a thing in my back between my ribs, and the water just kept pouring out. Right. I mean, it was
that's horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Filling up buckets of water that was coming out of my my body. It was amazing.
Yeah, extraordinary.
I was drowning. I was internally drowning.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so I did weigh a lot then, but it all went away.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry about it, okay?
No, I'm not worried. Can I tell you, the 7th arrondissement, by the way, does not include the Champs-Élysées or the Arc de Triomphe.
Oh, really?
The 7th arrondissement is over by the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Eiffel Tower. I like the Eiffel Tower.
Well, it's completely the other side of the river.
Yes, I know, but I like the Eiffel. I used to walk from one to the other, you see. I stayed in a hotel very near the Champs-Élysées, and I used to walk
situated on the Rive Gauche.
That's right, the Rive Gauche, and I used to...
what that stands for?
Left bank.
Yeah.
And,
do you know what else it is? The Rive Gauche.
The Rive Gauche?
Yeah, a very famous perfume by Yves Saint Laurent.
Oh, I think it is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I used to go in the bar in Paris that was used by that little dwarf fella.
Which one?
You know, he's very famous French
the guy
dwarf.
from Fantasy Island.
No, you idiot.
The plane, that guy.
No. This guy was a French dwarf. He was very famous.
Really?
Very famous French dwarf.
I don't remember him.
Yeah, he was an artist. He's an artist.
An artist?
Yeah.
What, you mean Toulouse-Lautrec?
Toulouse-Lautrec, that's the guy, yeah.
Okay.
He was part of what we call...
I thought he used to hang out in Montmartre.
He did, actually, quite a lot. But he used to go to brothels in Montmartre, but his studio was on the left bank because he was part of the left bank set.
Was he?
And he was a midget. He was only literally about sort of 4 foot tall.
Yeah.
But he was apparently very attractive to women.
He was a very talented man, that's
and
why.
He used to be a right mass Rogerizer over on the Montmartre brothel scene. No, that's absolutely true.
The Montmartre brothel scene.
It's absolutely true. And don't you remember that our old friend Mickey Brennan, who is now exiled in where? Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, because he had a bit of a problem with the American tax man, didn't he?
Well, no, his wife is Costa Rican. They decided to retire there.
Yeah, but I think he didn't...
There was an incident, yeah.
It is difficult for him to get back into America.
I believe that may be the case.
That's right. Well, don't you remember when Mickey used to get completely bladderated?
Yeah.
And, was ingesting various substances and all that. Do you remember his favourite impression was
I don't think you should be making any libelous comments about him, because he might decide to solve his problem with the American tax man by suing you.
No, I haven't suggested anything, have I?
Well, you just said that he used to ingest various substances.
Well, yeah, they could have been aspirins, couldn't they?
They could have been, yeah.
Or they could have been toffees or whatever you want.
Indeed, yeah.
I'm not suggesting
heart pills.
It was anything nefarious, or heart pills or anything. But don't remember, he used to take his shoes off, and then he used to drop to his knees, so his knees went into his shoes.
That's right, he did, yeah.
And pretend he was Toulouse-Lautrec.
My father used to do that.
Did he? Really? What a strange thing to do.
Oh, no, it was very odd.
Yeah, it was very odd indeed.
Now, a couple of tweets for you. One in actually support of you from Bridgend Hatter.
Oh, good.
He says, I agree with Porky on this one. Roy Keane is a perfect example of it. Sunderland, Ipswich, and still on ITV.
Yeah, exactly. These guys can't fail in management, and they have no shame whatsoever in coming back. The point is about Gary Neville. He went out at the very top. Everybody who's ever watched Neville as a pundit said he is the best pundit ever.
Well, he was the best pundit ever.
So, of course, he can come back.
Well, I don't know if he'll ever be the same as he was before he went, though.
I
because
think he
now,
will be.
the point is now that he has stepped into the arena and shown himself to be, unfortunately not up to snuff.
Oh, I see. You think he might be more gentle on those that he's watching?
Well, he's going to have to be conscious of it. You can't imagine that. You can't assume it hasn't happened. And by the same token, even if he does forget that it's happened and he starts criticising other managers, people will look at what he says and say, well, hang on a second, you had a go at it and you were useless at it.
Well, you'd have to hope that he wouldn't be affected, that he'd be single-minded going about his job.
But people's view of him, I think, will change. That's what I'm saying. Dion says this, just like a good manager does make a good pundit, Gary Neville has shown a good pundit doesn't make a good manager.
Well, no, I don't agree with that, because it was just, for me, simply the very wrong job for him to have taken. It was his first job in management. I still believe in the Brian Clough philosophy. He said, I learnt to I learnt the basics in management when I was on my knees in the Hartlepool dressing room wiping the floor.
Yeah.
He said that's where it all starts and that's where you learn best. And I agree with him.
I don't agree with that at all.
I don't think you have
to. I don't think you have to clean anybody's boots to be any good at playing football or managing a football team.
I didn't say cleaning boots. I said getting right down to the nitty-gritty of football.
Well, what was he doing on his knees?
He was literally cleaning the...
well, that's what I mean, cleaning the floor, cleaning the boots. Yeah, I don't think you have to do that. I think that's a very outmoded way of looking at things.
Well, you would say that, but then you don't...
Do you think Pep Guardiola's ever cleaned the floor at Barcelona?
What?
Do you think Pep Guardiola's ever cleaned the floor at Barcelona?
Well, no, but I mean, he'd already established himself, hadn't he, as a sort of giant of the club. You see, I'm looking at a report here...
You're so full of contradictions. You don't know what you're talking about.
Excuse me, I'm looking at a report here that will appear in one of tomorrow's newspapers. Sky have asked Gary Neville to return to their ranks, but the sacked Valencia manager will stay in Spain for the time being to consider his options.
Right.
Neville was dismissed after a dismal run.
What do you think his options are, then?
Well, his options are either to...
Do nothing and just be a businessman.
Do nothing, be a businessman. To return to England and seek a management or coaching position at a lower level.
Yeah, why doesn't he go and take over Aston Villa, see how he does there?
Well, I mean, that's a ludicrous and ridiculous statement.
Why is it?
Because he's clearly not qualified to do it. That's been made clear by his
so what?
his time at Valencia.
The man that you said 4 months ago was going to be a great success at Valencia is now not qualified to run Aston Villa.
Of course he's not. He's got no experience in running a Premier League club. He went out to Valencia to try and do it behind the back of the couch, so to speak. You know, not in the glaring spotlight of what happened in this country.
Yeah.
The former Manchester United defender was axed. Horrible word, that, isn't it? Despite maintaining business links with Peter Lim, the billionaire owner of the Spanish club. Neville intends to focus on Euro 2016. See, you've got to remember, he's got a job with England over the summer.
Well, so you say, but he didn't bother coming to do that until last Thursday, did he?
He had loyalties to Valencia, didn't he?
Well,
anyway, he is going to remain as assistant to Roy Hodgson before deciding whether to return to England. He has not ruled out eventually working again for Sky.
Really?
Where he performed a punditry double act.
See, I think he'll stay. I think if he's got any sense, he'll stay away from Sky for a while, but we shall see.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. Loads more coming up.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
The boy said, my name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I'll take your bet and you're going to regret, because I'm the best as ever been. Johnny, rosin up your bow and play your fiddle hard, cause hell's broke loose in Georgia and the devil deals the cards. And if you win, you get this shiny fiddle made of gold, but if you lose, the devil gets your soul.
Hey, you can tell me you don't like this song?
No, it's quite a nice song, that, and isn't it about a duel between two fiddle
players?
Well,
it's about the devil, basically.
That's right, But it's amazing that you were in a bar in Nashville and all of a sudden the guy taps you on the shoulder and says, and they made that record, right?
And they were the Charlie Daniels Band.
I mean, that is quite
What are the chances of that happening, as they say?
Chances of that happening, mate, are pretty low.
Unfortunately, I managed to get out of it intact.
I was about to say, chances of you getting out of that boozer alive were pretty short, I would have thought, so you moved quite well there.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, how about this from D. Charlie? He says, country music is so broad that you might as well be saying, I don't like music. He says, how can you not like some of the stuff that's already been put out there, especially by Jason Molina? Now, I'm not sure I know anything about Jason Molina.
Yeah. What about Willie Nelson?
Willie Nelson, I think, is a bit of an acquired taste, but he's done some good stuff.
He did a record called There's a Windscreen Wiper Working Like a Viper or something like that. I remember in the 80s when I was there.
Incredibly successful.
And that
he's so successful now, he's got his own brand of marijuana they sell in Colorado.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he sells in the shop, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's legal.
Yeah, that's right. What I mean, yeah.
And I think Waylon Jennings has got his own as well.
He's very
They do
old.
a whole different grades of dope.
He's very old now. Now, listen, talking about things,
We've got to talk to Mark Donaldson now.
Oh, at all? Yeah, that's nice. Good.
Yeah.
Is he there?
Bob in Sheffield says, that wasn't water they were pumping out, you porky.
Yeah.
It was wine.
No,
you flake.
no, it wasn't, no.
Right, let's talk to Mr. Donaldson to get some sense on the show. Mr. Donaldson, very good morning to you.
Country music chat, how are you, boy?
Yeah, hello, mate. Yeah, well, you live in a country which is, of course, satiated in country music. You must get sick and fed up of switching on the box and every time you do, seeing some guy in a cowboy hat strumming a guitar and singing, "Oh, Rosemary, I love you."
One of the scariest moments since I came over here, I was staying, you get put up in a hotel until you find somewhere to stay, and there was a place next door to the hotel I was staying called the Cadillac Ranch. And I was in there one Saturday night, bizarrely, with Shaka Hislop and Robbie Mustoe. And we were in casual gear, and at 8:30 on the dot, the place went silent, and I had this big 6'5" bouncer come up to me and said, basically, sir, if you don't take your baseball cap off and pay respect to our national anthem and our country, we will have to throw you out. That was an eye-opener.
It was indeed.
They take that sort of stuff very seriously.
They do.
It's a bit like when I was watching my son graduate from high school, and my sister was there, who was born and raised in London like I am, but has now become an American citizen. And when they pledged allegiance to the flag, I turned to my left to see her standing there with her hand over her heart.
Well, exactly.
Reading. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" You know, she said, "I'm pledging." I said, "You're not American. You know, forget about it. You're not American." She got quite upset.
Land of the free, home of the brave. Anyway, talking about land of the free and home of the brave.
They nearly had a new football manager, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. What about Gary Neville then? I mean, was it a mistake for him to have gone where he went in the first place, or was he brave to have made the move?
If Peter Lim hadn't been in charge and hadn't made the appointment, there's no way Gary Neville would even have been considered to go to Valencia. Yep. So it's one of these things. I mean, being over here, and I know we're speaking about America, all us expats over here, we had the choice to come over here. I would much rather have done it and failed and then gone back than spent the rest of my life regretting having never done it. And I'm sure a lot of others are the same.
So when are you coming back, Mark?
That's a bit harsh.
I'm not allowed in that country either. Would Gary Neville say that, in hindsight, maybe 5-10 years down the line, he made a mistake doing this? I'm not so sure. I think the next one we'll find out, his next appointment, because he's failed it. It's a difficult gig, different language, hard gig. I don't think you rule him out as a football manager, but it'd be interesting for me in 5-10 years' time to ask him, was it a mistake? And I think he'll say no, because I think it was an opportunity at the time he could not turn down.
I think you're right, and I don't think it damages his credibility as a manager, but it most certainly damages his credibility as a pundit, because I've got lots of tweets coming in similar to this one. This one's from Westrin, who says, next time Neville slags off someone like Wenger, who will take him seriously? # glass houses. And I think that's the point, that, hang on.
Mark, we've already said that.
No, we haven't already said it. We just started talking to Mark. You've disagreed with me. You've said he can go back to Sky any time he likes. Yeah. I'm saying
Alan Shearer did.
His currency at Sky will not be quite what it was. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I believe the papers, the morning papers in the UK are saying that Sky have already offered him a job back. And he said, no, don't want it right now. I mean, look, there's two sides to this. On one side, anyone watching, if ever he has a go at tactics or what, because he knows his stuff. I mean, everybody I spoke to, I never really saw him because he's obviously on your side of the pond and not mine. But I didn't hear many people say a bad word about him. He knew what he was talking about. But I think you've got to separate the two roles. I think they're very different. Talking about football and being able to explain football and the tactics and the nous of football to an audience is very different from actually putting it into play. So I think you've got to separate the two here. I get what you're saying, and I get the fact that people might say, wait a minute here, why is he having a go at a manager when he was a failed one himself? But for me, you've got to separate the two. There's a big difference between being an actual manager and having the ability to explain it to non-managers.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, what about the Alan Shearer situation? He decided to fulfil a life's ambition, a life's dream, to go and manage Newcastle, the team that he literally went to play for when he could have played for Manchester United and won a hatful of medals. He went to Newcastle and won nothing. So he goes to manage them to try and save them for relegation. It doesn't work. He goes back into the TV studio. Nobody in the 4 or 5 years he's been back in that studio has once said, you've no right to say that, Alan, because you're a failed manager. What they say is, look at that man there, Alan Shearer, Newcastle United's leading goal scorer, one of the greatest centre-forwards ever in the Premier League. And they'll say the same about Gary Neville, one of the greatest defenders in the Premier League history.
I wonder what would have happened, Porky. Someone, obviously the club closest to your heart, Everton. Remember when Andy Gray was offered the job as manager and he turned it down because he could earn more with Sky?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
He could have been in the same position. He might have ended up going to Everton. It might have failed, and then he's in the same position again. He goes back to try and explain to people. I mean, for me, Andy Gray was an excellent summariser, and he told me things I didn't know. That's one of the gripes that I've got over here just now with so many of the kind of we're the play-by-plays, but they're the kind of colour guys. They're the analysts. Yeah. They don't tell us stuff that we don't know. They just explain the obvious. And the next time you hear someone, I think there's a big difference between guys that can go on TV and say something, and guys that can go on TV and say something that actually we don't know and we're learning from.
Yeah, I tell you what...
I think that's absolutely right. Do you mind if I have something to say in this particular conversation, or are you just going to monopolise it like you normally do?
Well, have you got anything to offer?
Yes, I have, because I think, unfortunately for you and for Mr. Donaldson, you're both getting the wrong end of the stick here, because what I'm saying is that his experience at Valencia has changed the way that he will be perceived and will change the way that he perceives how he is perceived, if you know what I mean. So he can't go back to Sky and pretend it didn't happen. He can't go back to Sky and be the way he was, because this has come in the middle of it. Maybe eventually, but not in the short term.
What does he do? What does he do in the short term then? What do you think?
It counts his money.
Well, no, he's got the England situation, Mark, over the summer. That's the bridge for him. You know what I mean? That's a very convenient. Well, I'm too busy now working with England. In the Euros. Talking about Andy Gray, by the way. Do you remember, Mark? What happened was Andy left Villa to go and join Sky, where he's working with Ron Atkinson. Now, later on, Andy ended up interviewing Ron Atkinson in a TV studio, and Ron Atkinson turned on him and said, "Look, Andy, you left a coaching job in football, right, to play with your silly little machines in this studio. I am still a working manager, and you're not going to talk to me like that," and took his microphone off and walked out. So, you know, there is a level of, I don't know, misconception or perception between footballers who go into the coaching business and footballers who go into the punditry business.
I think as far as Mr. Graham was saying with Gary Neville, I think Gary Neville's a smart guy, Mike. And I
do.
I think he, as Mike was saying, I think he certainly has looked at what the best-case scenario was for him in Spain. He could be there for many years. I also think he had to look, and I think he's bright enough to have looked at the worst-case scenario for him as well. I don't think he's now in a kind of place going, "Oh, no, what am I going to do next?" You're right, he's got the England gig.
Yeah.
But I think after the summer, he will know, or he will have a fair idea of what he's going to do, because if he's bright, and I think he is, he would already have gone through this scenario before he even took the Valencia job.
Yeah, probably.
Now, I haven't got a lot of time left, because Porky, once again, has monopolised all the time. But I wanted to ask you about Jurgen Klinsmann.
Raise the salient points.
The United States of America lost to Guatemala, I think, for the first time in 21 games, but then came back and beat them. So is his job now safe?
His job will be safe as long as he gets them to the Hex. If he doesn't qualify for the World Cup, he's gone. They beat Guatemala 4-0. Who cares? They should be beating Guatemala 4-0 home and away, if not by more. Mexico in Group A, 4 wins out of 4. They've already qualified for the final stages. The US, they've still got work to do. They'll get through to the Hex, but I think what that did, that 4-0 win over Guatemala, for me, that proved how insipid a display was. And I'm not sure the players played for him in Guatemala City. And don't give me this, it's a hard place to go. They played last night because they knew they want to get to a World Cup. I'm not sure they played for Jurgen Klinsmann. His job's still on the line. And last night, for me, it was just a bit of wallpaper that will paper over the cracks. And if he doesn't get to the World Cup in Russia, he's gone.
What a difference a couple of years makes. They were the heroes of the World Cup in Brazil, weren't they? We got lots more coming up. Loads of tweets, of course. You can tweet us at the 2 Mikes. Text us at 81089. This is TalkSport.
Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
What a great song that is. Another great country song.
It is a great song.
A couple of people want to point something out.
Yes.
Here's one from Davey in Canterbury.
Yes.
He says, guys, be careful not to make the common mistake of mixing up country with country and western, two totally different genres.
Oh, is that
Eagles
right?
Are the most talented country band.
Oh,
well,
I
mean, you say Crosby, Stills and Nash are a country band, but they're not necessarily a country and western band.
Country and western is a load of guys who sound like they're sitting on hay bales.
Yeah, but that's still very successful, and some of it is still very good.
And wearing cowboy hats.
Yeah.
And
trouble is, I don't think you've quite got
strumming guitars.
You haven't quite got the genre down, have you?
I
think
I've got it.
What
down.
about Little Feat? Gareth says they're surely the best country
Little
band.
Feat, never heard of them. Who are they?
You've never heard of Little Feat?
No.
You've never heard of Lowell George?
Who?
You never heard of Fat Man in the Bathtub?
No, of course I haven't.
We'll
Who's Fat Man in the Bathtub?
I'm going to play Fat Man in the Bathtub for you.
What a load of
for
rubbish.
Your triangular
what is he?
bath.
Who is he?
It's the name of one of their songs. Fantastic band. I saw them at Wembley as well.
Band?
Little Feat.
Little Feat?
Yeah.
Are they American?
Yeah, of course they're American.
Guys,
they're from the deep south.
Okay, they've had a few hits in this country.
They have actually.
Have they? If they had had,
you may not have got their greatest hits, but
they've had a few hits, mate. I'd have known about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not worried. Anonymous says, does Porky know anything about European club football? Comparing Aston Villa to Spain's third biggest club, Valencia. you? Yeah. What a plank.
Well, I'll tell you something. Aston Villa, properly managed, could be the third biggest club in this country. Of course they could. Well, I'm telling you what, in our lifetime, they finished as runners-up in the Premier League.
Yes.
How about that?
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, Gary so Neville... I'm not going to be dismissed like that. I'm sorry.
I don't know why you're taking it so personally.
Aston Villa are a very big club indeed.
Taking it very personally.
A bigger club than Valencia, actually.
No, they're not.
They are.
Here's one from Becky who says, Gary Neville's a shoo-in for TalkSport's Clash of the Titans. They need to get rid of those non-footballers and journalists off the panel who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I agree
with
that.
Of that.
I agree with that. You should have only knowledgeable people in there. I fall into the knowledgeable category.
So you should throw yourself on your sword and make way for Gary Neville, I think.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
And Retro Guy says, was Porky known in France as Le Plank?
That's so amusing, that.
It is funny.
I think I'll just roll over and die laughing.
Yeah, I think we might do. Be careful of your heart, though. Only 1/3 of it works. Exactly. Remember that. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
Hello. The performance was absolutely disgusting. I'm not a football manager myself. I'm just a humble football fan. You could call me thick if you like, but time after time after time after time, I make an 8-hour round trip to watch drivel. Literally drivel.
Ah, Mr. Bond, we've been expecting your call.
I'm sorry, Mr. Blofeld. I seem to have dialed your number incorrectly. I am awfully sorry.
If you really want to talk about football, don't call the Drax Corporation. Call Collymore. Passionate, precision-engineered post-match analysis. Call Collymore. Saturday night from 7:30, straight after Liverpool versus Spurs. On Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Gary the Villa fan says, what happens when you play a country record backwards? You get your wife back, your dog back and your house back. It's not bad, is it?
What?
Well, you know, because country music records are renowned for people sort of lamenting the fact that they've lost their wife, they've lost their dog, they've lost their house.
By your man.
And he's just making a little joke about it. What are you, like, half asleep or something?
No, I just don't get that, you know.
You don't get it?
No. Losing your wife. Oh, I'll tell you what that one was.
Well, there's loads of them like that.
No, I'll tell you the most famous one there.
It's 4 in the morning.
No. Kenny Rogers in.
Don't take your love to town.
No. That was about a Vietnam War veteran.
Yeah.
The one I'm talking.
People think you look like Kenny Rogers.
No. Don't be ridiculous. No, the one I'm thinking about is, you know. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille.
Yeah. That's right. 3 hungry children.
3 hungry children.
And a crop in the field.
Yeah.
So you like that one as well?
You said you left me.
Yeah.
I said don't leave me.
You don't know any more of the words.
And
well, that's a good song as well, isn't it?
And
so it's another every single country song that we've played so far, you've liked.
It's like that was like a real story, you know. It said, a big man shook with emotion, burst into tears as he told me, you picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille. Now, listen, I'll tell you something else, which is in incredible demand, as well as country and western music, and this is cage fighting. Now, I cannot believe what I'm seeing here.
MMA? MMA?
MMA.
Mixed martial arts.
Whatever the view, the cage fighting exponents of mixed martial arts seem to be here to stay. Demand for tickets in this country is now insatiable, according to promoters who've promised an expansion of events in Britain. But, I mean, to me, it's just garbage. I mean, I just don't understand it.
You've never really been up with all of that, have you?
Well, if it was 2 people standing there punching each other's lights out, fine. But they end up wrestling around on the floor.
Well, sometimes they do.
Grabbing each other, nothing happens.
Well, it depends. That's why it's called mixed martial arts.
Now, let me tell you.
Some of them are expert in judo.
Yeah.
Some of them are expert in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Some of them are expert in wrestling.
Yes.
Some of them are expert in boxing. It just depends on who's fighting who.
Right. When there's an event taking place in this country now, they can charge up to £150 a ticket.
And they'll be very, very easily sold out.
Rebecca Kane-Burton, the general manager at the O2. Yeah. Again, we're back at the O2. Everything seems to happen at the O2, doesn't it?
Such a lot of
well, I'm just highlighting where these events are taking place.
Yeah.
Said the sellouts of the MMA bouts we put on are an example of the growing popularity of this high-intensity sport.
Well, it is growing in popularity.
MMA, commonly referred to as cage fighting, combines boxing.
It's not commonly referred to as cage fighting. Who says that? Who's saying it's referred to as cage fighting?
Well, I refer to it as cage fighting.
Well, that doesn't mean it's commonly referred to as cage fighting.
Of course it is. It takes place in a cage, you idiot.
No, it doesn't. It takes place in an octagon.
Which is caged.
Hey?
which is caged.
No, it's not referred to as cage fighting.
Are you disagreeing? That
I talk to Gareth A. Davis about this every week.
Yeah,
right?
and it has a cage appearance,
no,
does
it
it
doesn't.
not?
It's an octagon.
Oh, rubbish. It's got a cage appearance, you idiot. Anybody can see that.
Anybody can see that. What would you describe as a cage about it, then?
It says commonly referred to...
Is it made of wire mesh?
Yes, that's right.
No, it's not.
Commonly referred to as cage fighting combines boxing, judo, wrestling and other martial arts.
I just told you that.
Each fight has 3 to 5 rounds, which last about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes.
Well, whoever's writing this clearly doesn't know what they're talking about.
They're wrestling around on the floor. Well, it's a report I've got from America.
From where?
Now, US Senator John McCain branded MMA as human cockfighting.
Yeah, that was years ago.
And those involved in the disciplines have tried to prove it a serious competitive
They've had
sport.
for a very long time, funnily enough, New York State have refused to allow MMA to take place inside the state. But they've now just reversed that because they've now decided it is, in fact, a mainstream sport. So there will now be MMA events at Madison Square Garden for the first time.
Is that right?
So they've actually accepted it.
Right, now listen to this, the effect in this country, right?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. But listen, Ultimate Challenge Mixed Martial Arts, that's UCMMA, by the way, right? You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't know.
Yeah, Ultimate Challenge Mixed Martial Arts, you didn't know. Hosts up to 10 fights a year at the Troxy in Limehouse.
Okay.
I don't know where that is, do you?
I don't know. I know where Limehouse is.
I do. I used to live there.
I don't know like the back of my hand.
I used to live in Free Trade Wharf, which is Limehouse, just on the edge of Limehouse,
Yeah.
in East London. Now, there are
Near the Bunch of Grapes.
That's right, Bunch of Grapes, yeah. Now, there are 1,000, which is owned by...
well, there's two, isn't
celebrity
there? There's the Grapes
chef.
and there's the Bunch of Grapes.
That's right, yeah.
It's Gordon Ramsay, isn't it?
Gordon Ramsay, that's right, yeah. Now, 1,500 tickets, which sell at a face price of £30, but can actually change hands for £150.
There you go.
It also says... that they have a channel, Ultimate Channel Mixed Martial Arts, have a channel which has 91 million hits.
Right.
91 million
on YouTube,
hits.
you're talking about?
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite popular then, isn't it?
Well, it's quite popular. And it says a growing number of women are interested.
So what's your point then?
Well, my point is that this is something which has passed me by. I do not see this wave of enthusiasm for cage fighting.
Well, you haven't been paying attention.
Well, I am paying attention, and do you know what it says to me?
What does it say to you?
It says to me that in this country there are millions of people who've got vacuous spaces between their ears.
Right, you're one of them.
If they think cage fighting is a popular sport. Now then,
you've just told me how many hits they've got on their YouTube site.
Yeah, I know. Well,
91 million.
Well, I'm telling you,
is that popular or not popular?
Some people have just not got a life. I mean, these must be people who go down and collect their unemployment benefit money and then decide to...
Oh, what, they've got £150? They've got £150 to spend on a ticket?
I don't know.
You can't explain it, can you?
Do you know what else I found out, which is quite amazing in my research today?
Have you just, woken up and come out of an egg or something on this one?
There's a lady called Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
You ever heard of her?
Yes, of course.
She is 29.
She was the world champion and she was beaten very controversially down in Australia, right?
Yeah.
She's also been in several Hollywood movies and makes a very, very large amount of money.
Do you know how much she gets?
You would love.
Do you know how much she gets for each fight?
I don't know, but it's in excess of $1 million, I would imagine.
$5 million.
There you go.
One fight.
Yeah. So
$5 million.
Why is it come as such a surprise to you?
Well, I think it's disgusting to see women wrestling each other.
Don't you remember the conversation we had about Conor McGregor?
I think it's disgusting to see women wrestling each other like that. It's not feminine. It's inhuman.
It's not feminine.
Well, it's not to see two women grappling with each other in a cage.
Do you like the idea of women walking around a boxing ring holding up what round it is?
Well, I mean, that's a job. They're announcing much.
Oh, so that's okay.
Well, they're not fighting each other.
Okay.
It's not inhumane. It's not barbaric.
Well, they are capable.
It is barbaric.
They are capable of independent thought. These women are not being forced into it.
It is barbaric to put two women in a cage and ask them to fight each other, in my view.
Are you sure you're not just being sexist about it?
No, I'm not being sexist at all. I have an old-fashioned view about it. What's wrong with that?
I think you do.
What is wrong with that?
Now, let me read you a couple of other pieces of information that you might not know about. This one from Kenny, who says Delbert McClinton. Ever heard of him? You ever heard of Delbert McClinton?
No.
He's a country blues singer.
Oh, is he?
Apparently taught John Lennon how to play the harmonica.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh. What was the first Beatles record on which John Lennon played the harmonica?
I don't know.
I never realised that a girl like you... You know that one?
Yeah. What's the name of it?
And I do.
It's about 8 songs you've now sung.
And when I tell you that I
don't want
love
to keep
you...
singing. You haven't had any sleep today, have you? You always sing more when you haven't had any sleep.
I have. So what's the name of that song?
Well, you're the Beatles expert.
I love you do. And when I tell you you're mine... Love me do. I say...
What?
So love me do. But it's not love me do.
No, it's not love me do.
It's love me do. You know?
O'Doyle says this, Porky's showing his age regarding MMA. It's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Yeah.
MG is setting him right.
Yeah, it doesn't turn me on, I'm telling you.
And Hackman says this, Porky, you must have woken up sometimes with lipstick on your collar.
Lipstick on my collar, yeah, sure,
that's a country song as well, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And now here's one from Kevin. Disappointed it's taken over an hour for you to mention England in the World Cup final. Would be different if it was football. Well, Kevin, I don't think you've been listening because we mentioned England winning actually right at the top of the show.
Indeed.
But we haven't discussed it at any great length as yet.
Right.
Would you like to make your pronouncements on that particular win yesterday?
On what? On the England?
On England beating New Zealand.
I am very pleased.
Are you?
Do you know what occurred to me? Do you know what occurred to me?
By the way.
Yeah, but just very quickly, it occurred to me, we are literally one of the great sporting nations of the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Andy Murray, I know he's had a bad week, but he's nevertheless a Wimbledon champion.
He managed to beat the hell out of his bag.
He did, but nevertheless he's a Wimbledon champion.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton is the world motor racing champion.
Yeah.
Victoria Pendleton is now become a horse riding star.
Oh, no, she isn't. She's riding horses. She's not winning much.
After being a world star on a bike.
Yeah.
Think about all the others.
What others?
Well, the cricket team are in the world final.
Yeah.
Our rugby team have just won and conquered the Northern Hemisphere. Yeah, absolutely. We are a top sporting nation.
Really?
And I'm so proud of the cricket
England
boys.
Football team have just lost to Holland, right?
Yeah, but we beat the world
champions. Who are not actually in the Euros.
But we beat the world champions.
But you said that wasn't important.
We beat the world champions.
You said it wasn't important.
And the cricket boys have added to our litany of litany of enormous overseas international sporting success. Be proud.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You finished?
Yeah.
Thank you. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Very, very early morning sports radio for postmen, trolley dollies,
Out of a dirt chip, pressed whack.
and anyone who had to do a dawn runner after a very ill-advised one-night stand.
Go, go, go. Over my dead body.
The Two Mics on Talk Sport.
Probably thinks I read it for the headlines. Oh, just another never get enough news junkie. But I round that corner heading in no time. Life section D's in hand, the rest is in a garbage can. I still read your horoscope.
That's quite a nice song. You know, another country song.
What song is that?
Cheryl Wright, I think her name is.
Oh, Cheryl Wright, yeah.
I still read your horoscope.
I still read your horoscope.
Yeah, that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose so.
So that's about the sixth song in a row we've played.
I've never heard that one before. I mean, you know, we're supposed to be talking about country music.
Yeah,
now
well,
talking about horoscopes.
well,
I mean, what's wrong with you?
Lord Rallo says this, please get old Porky back on the bladderation trail immediately. He's gone completely mad, sober.
I don't think so.
I think that's true.
I don't drink for 10
Speaking
days.
Speaking of horoscopes, there's a fantastic new book out, by the way, called The Dark Side Zodiac.
The Dark Side, that sounds a bit...
Because you know how zodiac signs are supposedly, you know, very, very true in terms of, you know, the characteristics that
I never read
display.
mine. Do you ever read your...
I don't really, no.
I never read mine.
I don't, because most horoscopes, particularly those in the newspapers, are not particularly worth reading.
Well,
I mean,
most horoscopes these days, to me, are massive money-making machines.
Well, they are.
What you see is at the end of each, like I'm Capricorn, right? And you see at the end, if you want to know more, ring my number.
Well, Jonathan Kaner was the king of that, right?
He makes millions.
He got signed up by the Mirror when I was there for a relatively small amount of money because he wanted to put all his telephone numbers at the bottom. Right. And he made millions.
Oh, I know. On
an annual basis.
Absolutely.
He employed about 15 people. Absolutely extraordinary. But what you're going to be very interested to know about, right, is that this particular Zodiac guide is the first accurate one that I've ever read. Because the Dark Side Zodiac is all about what people are really like. It's not about what your day is going to be like.
So you believe in all this gobbledygook,
well,
do you?
it's just a very interesting one, only because my eyes fell upon yours, right?
Yeah.
Because you're a Capricorn,
I am
are you
Capricorn,
not?
yeah.
December 22nd to January the 20th, right?
Yes, that's right.
And this is a summation of people who are Capricorns. And I think I would defy you to say that this is not entirely about you.
Oh.
You want to hear it?
Well, if you think it's worthwhile, you think our millions of listeners are going to be interested in this, gobbledygook, go on.
Here it says, mean, miserly, petty, unforgiving. You have the stamina and relentless bloody-mindedness to keep wearing away at the world until it's lost the will to live and follows your way. Now that is about the best description I've ever read of you. Any resistance is exhausted by your endless spirit-dulling routine and petty regulations.
What?
You would do anything to preserve your social status and so prefer to keep your ruthless, pathological ambition under wraps.
Hey?
And you're a Scrooge, the Honourable Secretary of the Skinflint Society. I mean, if that is not Mike Parry in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
That's disgraceful.
That is absolutely brilliant.
You've made that up.
Now, it says here, your favourite deadly sin, and this could not be more accurate either, is avarice. A cold accumulation and insatiable hunger that sucks you dry from the inside.
Which nutter
is exactly
wrote this?
you.
Which nutter wrote this?
Well, it's been written by a woman who's by the name of Stella Hyde. I think we should get this woman on because she's an absolute genius. Romance. It's Saturday night, time for your weekly bout of connubial unpleasantness. So it's on with pyjamas and off with the light. Underneath it all, you're as randy as anyone. You just won't admit it.
What?
Unbelievable. And then friendships, it says you've given up on friends because they don't appreciate your help. This is you. This is absolutely you. Even though your methods are clearly more efficient than theirs. And then it says your dream job is a loss adjuster, so insurance companies can pay as little and as late as possible. Or possibly a politician, natural for a self-important status junkie.
What?
This is you.
This is you.
Shocking to an absolute T.
Character assassination.
It's fantastic.
Give me that book, please.
No.
No, I demand it. I demand it.
Well, why don't you believe it? Why don't you believe it? Why don't you believe it? It's absolutely spot on.
Now, what are you?
What do you mean, what am I?
I want to know what you are.
Well, you don't know when my birthday is. You're supposed to be this great friend of mine. As they say, you have no friends.
It's in October.
No, it isn't.
It's in August.
It's in August.
August, yeah. Right, OK.
October.
So hang on.
You don't even know when my birthday is. You don't even know what my star sign is.
Wait a minute. So I reckon it's Leo.
Leo? It is indeed
You're Leo,
right.
right.
Of course you can tell I'm a Leo because I'm by nature a leader. And
rubbish.
And my sunny personality.
You're not a leader.
Is what shines through.
You're not a leader. You follow. You follow.
I don't follow anybody.
I have leadership qualities. You have only following qualities.
No, you haven't got any leadership qualities.
No,
you don't get on with people. You're not able to convince people to do anything you want them to
Rubbish.
do. You don't actually like leading people because you don't offer them any brand of friendship. You are not in any way a leader.
Right, here we go. Let's read what Leos are all about, according to this so-called expert woman, okay?
I'm sure that whatever they say about Leo will be nowhere near as close to you,
to me,
as it is to you.
Let's see if you accept this. So, Leo.
Right.
So, for Leo, folks out there listening, read Fatso. I.e. old MG.
Well, I presume that's not what it actually says.
Right. Leos are all kings or queens.
Thank you.
But deep within your roaring lion heart, you know you're an arrogant, intolerant, pompous, self-centred bully.
True.
I'll just repeat
Correct.
that, folks. Arrogant, intolerant,
Guilty
pompous,
as charged.
self-centred
Although
bully.
I'm not pompous, I wouldn't say that.
Right. You absolutely have to be adored by everyone. Which
Also
is
not true.
Yes, it is. That's why you can't stand not to be noticed by women when you're standing in a room.
Not true.
Which is your downfall because you're easily flattered and fail to notice while you're blissing out that others are stealing your powers.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
I don't
So it
think
means that
that's not accurate at all.
No, it means you take your eye off the ball in all sorts of situations.
Not true.
And then other people pick up and
no, that's what happens to you.
And progress in life.
No, that's not true.
That's
what happened to you.
Right. You expect the world to revolve around you. When it doesn't, you plunge into grand imperial sulk mode. You have double standards, what you deserve, and what's good enough for everyone else, and you're never, ever wrong. Right? This is you down to a T.
That's not true, no.
Right, it says
I'm perfectly happy to admit when I'm wrong. I have been wrong on many occasions.
It says your favourite deadly sin is pride.
Yeah.
OK?
Yeah.
It's known as the sin from which all others arise, and you just love to be up with the top people. OK?
No, that's not me either.
Now, in romance, this will be interesting.
Yeah.
In romance, you know, because, of course, you are famously known as having the morals of an alley cat.
I'm not famously known as that at all.
You're a rampant Rogeriser.
A moniker that you've given me.
Rampant Rogeriser. It says, it's all about performance and applause. Oh, that's it, yeah. Like you women to tell you what a beefcake you are, eh?
No, I don't actually, no.
But you focus so hard on style...
Beefcake,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah.
What sort of word is that?
But you focus...
What sort of word is beefcake?
Just listen. But you focus so hard on style, posturing and execution, you fail to notice your partner's gone to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, that says it all.
Well, none of them have ever gone to sleep on me.
That says it all.
I mean, I've gone to sleep on them a couple of times.
Right, now then, it says in friendships, OK? Now, you had to go at me about this one, so no, you haven't got any friends, right?
Well, you say you haven't got any friends. You say you have no time for friends.
It says Leos don't relate. They form alliances or allow themselves to be worshipped. You see, that's typically you.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
You like taking your daughter out for lunch and dinner because she worships you. You're my daddy.
I take her out for lunch and dinner because she's my daughter, and I love her.
Yeah, and she worships you because...
You're not going to start attacking her now, are you?
No, I'm not attacking...
If she can stand up for herself, she'll give you a good kicking.
No,
she will.
She's a wonderful young lady, and I adore her.
Let's hope that you're not going to lose her as one of your only allies.
Not at all. A fearful snob, you ally yourself with people who make you look good. That's true.
I don't ally myself with anybody.
Like me.
Like you.
Yeah, like me.
That's true, actually. I do look good when I stand next to you because you look like a tramp.
No. You like to feel the glow of my company. The powerful, important, or
spent
just
most of my life trying to avoid
rich. Now, dream jobs, right? You say, to be a monarch. What better way to boss others about? To be a megastar. Finally, the love of the little people. So that explains you down to the ground.
And that one's nowhere near as accurate, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I think your one is absolutely spot on. I would say my one is about 50% right.
I think it's a load of gobbledygook.
No, I think it's very interesting.
Load of absolute
very
gobbledygook.
Interesting. Now, a couple of people have pointed out that it was You Should Have Known Better, the name of that song.
Oh, you should have known better, that's
Gemma
right.
says that. She says it's not Love Me Do. And Mark says that can't be a real horoscope tailor-made by Mr. Graham. It sounds absolutely on point as far as the one about you is concerned.
Yeah, that's why I think you put it together yourself.
It's the dark side of the horoscope. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Pascal says they forgot deluded in the profile of Capricorn.
What? You mad?
Yeah, they forgot that one.
About anything.
And Matthew says Leos have plank qualities. I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
Yeah, neither am I. I tell you something I did discover, by the way.
What was that?
Talking about horoscopes and all kind of stuff. Do you know that beautiful people try to stick together?
Beautiful
and
people.
don't like having ugly people in their company.
I'm not sure if that's true.
No, it is absolutely true. I got a report here from Professor Jan Haberstadt.
Who?
Haberstadt.
That sounds Dutch.
Yeah, he's from Otago's Department of Psychology.
Where's that?
I don't know. Where's Otago?
Otago.
Otago.
Isn't that one of those Pacific
Islands?
Islands?
Here. No, University of Otago in New Zealand.
That's what I mean. It's a Pacific place.
That's right, yeah. And he says, we wanted to know if people group together based on physical traits they share, such as gender or attractiveness. It is absolutely true. We found out that these traits predicted the physical position of individuals in their groups. We sought to determine how close they stood to others. On average, participants formed groups of 6 and were likely to approach others of similar attractiveness. Basically, what he said is...
That's all cobblers,
when a girl goes out with her friend, she'll only go out with a good-looking friend.
That's not
She'll
true.
go out with an ugly friend.
That's not true.
Well, I have the problem with you. I don't like being seen in the same room as you because...
You're very fortunate that I even want to spend half a second with you outside of the studio.
No, you give off...
Because if it wasn't for me, you'd have nobody to spend any time with.
You give off grossness. You give off excess. You give off, a delinquent sort of... aspect of what your life is all about.
Why always begging me to come out for a drink with you then?
I never begged you to come out.
You've always begged me.
I never begged you.
Oh, don't go down the coast this weekend. Come out with me instead.
Oh, yeah.
You're always begging me to do that.
Oh, when was the last time I actually said that to you?
About a week ago.
Oh, rubbish.
Absolutely
I've
true.
never said that to you.
Absolutely true.
I just want you to push off at weekends and get out of my my space, mate. Get out of my life.
By the way, I'm going to tell you in a moment. I can't right now because we're out of time. But there's been some serious damage done to a building near yours down in Gosport. I got some communicators on that today.
The roof's come off.
It has.
And do you know what? I know exactly which building you're talking about. I walked past it last weekend.
Yeah, okay. Well,
seriously.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll
Very
talk about
bad
that
news.
coming up. But coming up next, though, we're going to talk about Jaws and sharks on Mars. This is Talk Sport.
Inspire the next generation of young fans and celebrate the spirit of the game on Talk Sport with Barclays. Don't miss the warm-up and call Collymore this weekend when one lucky youngster will win tickets to their first ever Barclays Premier League game. Plus, keep listening to Talk Sport next week for your chance to get your hands on incredible big match tickets for you and a young fan. Win an unforgettable experience that will last a lifetime. Play first games on Talk Sport with Barclays, championing the true spirit of the game. For full terms and conditions, go to talksport.com/competitions.
Time for a new 16-plate van. Time for a Mercedes-Benz Citan, Vito or Sprinter. How about 0% APR and a service plan for just £10 a month across the whole model range? There's never been a better time than this March to drive away with a new 16-plate Mercedes-Benz van. Clock's ticking. Find out more at mbvans.co.uk. Business users only. Hire purchase only. Maximum term 36 months. Minimum deposit 20%. VAT at 20% applies. Credit approvals by 31st of March 2016. Mercedes-Benz Finance.
John? I think we need to make our marriage work harder.
What? It's the moustache, isn't it?
No, it's our marriage allowance. There's up to £212 waiting for us to claim. Although now you mention it, I think you could lose the moustache.
Yes, dear.
If you're married or in a civil partnership and one of you earns less than £10,600 and the other pays basic rate tax, there is up to £212 of tax savings waiting for you to claim. It takes less than 10 minutes to apply at gov.uk/marriage allowance.
Get the job done on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Will Spain reign again?
And Spain are into the lead.
Are France in with a chance? Or will the Three Lions finally rule? As the International League prepare to go head-to-head to lift the biggest prize in European football, join Hawksby and Jacobs every Monday from 1 to find out which team can get the job done. You wait for Euro 2016 on Talk Sport with Toolstation. Low prices on top trade brands. Open late 7 days a week. Find your nearest branch at toolstation.com.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Recognise that piece of music, of course, won't you, Mr. Parry?
Yes.
From?
Jaws.
Jaws, yes, exactly right. You know why we're playing that?
Well, because we're going to be talking to an alien hunting expert.
That's right, Rob Simone.
Whether or not there is whether or not there has been a shark on Mars.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, according to an image captured by the Curiosity rover, there's a sort of landscape. I think you've seen this picture, right?
Yeah.
And in the bottom left-hand corner of this landscape is a shape that looks very much like a shark. Now, nobody's saying that obviously that means there's a shark there, but what they're saying is it might mean that it's in some form
of the fossil
some
of a shark.
kind of a fossil or a petrified fish or something like that. Let's talk to Rob and find out what it's all about. Rob, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike and Mike. How are you guys going?
Yeah, very well indeed.
Thank you.
Now, we've spoken before, I believe. This is an interesting story, isn't it? I mean, basically what the sort of UFO enthusiasts and alien hunters and people are saying is that this might be proof that there was once some kind of ancient ocean on Mars, on the surface.
Yeah, you know, Mars did have water. It absolutely did have water, a lot of water. In fact, there's still water up there at the poles. So, yeah, I don't think that's really in dispute anymore.
How do we know it did have water, Rob? You sound very positive about that, but how can you justify that? And if it did have water, if it did have oceans, where's it all gone?
Under the ground, because the surface environment of Mars is so hostile. But at the poles where it's colder and the temperature is more stable, they have determined that there is absolutely some water up there. In fact, they know there's water on the moon, too. So water is not a scarce element in the universe. It's spread out all over, just like it is anywhere else.
Okay, so could this ocean have contained sharks and fish?
I doubt it would resemble what we have on Earth, but yeah, absolutely. It could have supported all kinds of marine animals, and most probably did, because Mars was alive and thriving before Earth was. Earth was still, a big ball of molten rock, but Mars had its day in the sun, so to speak, a lot earlier, 1 million years or so before Earth.
Really? Yeah.
See, the interesting thing for me in this whole picture is, I mean, presumably people are staring at these images from the Curiosity rover, looking for all sorts of clues for things. And if you look at the image itself, I mean, it's a very small part of a very big landscape. And, I mean, if there were, for example, petrified fish proving that there had once been an ocean, wouldn't there be more of them? Because I'm only seeing one.
Yeah, well, this gets us to the Daily Mail article, and it shows this rather whale-like feature on the surface there that was captured by Curiosity rover. And I have to say that there is a lot of great evidence that shows artificial structures on Mars. The pyramid on Mars is extraordinary, Tithonia, a lot of other strange things. But I have to say, this picture is absolute cobblers.
Oh, you don't think this shark picture is of any use at all? Because interestingly enough, they also talk about something called pareidolia, the psychological response to seeing faces and other significant and everyday items in random stimulus. It's like when people see, the face of Jesus Christ in a piece of toast or something like that, or in a cloud.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you tell the difference, I suppose, is what I'm saying. I mean, you're telling us that there was oceans there and there was probably creatures of some kind in there, but we're not looking at any of that.
No, this shot was taken by, the rover, which means at best the camera could have been maybe 5-6 foot off the surface.
Yeah.
And what we're looking at looks like a whale more than a shark, doesn't it?
Well, they're also saying it's about the size of a small bass or a salmon.
Yeah.
So it's not really as big as, it's not really a shark size.
Yeah, but it's tiny. I mean, as you've dismissed this, Rob, and said, it's all a load of rubbish. Sorry?
Cobleros.
Cobleros. I totally agree. But you are, in fact, a very well-established alien hunter. Where else are you looking for aliens, and have you found any?
Well, I'll tell you a great story. I had a conversation with the legendary Buzz Aldrin. This fellow. Yep. Legendary guy. Serious guy, doctorate from MIT, everything else. His new thing is all about one of the moons of Mars, Phobos. Now, again, unadulterated photography from the satellites. If you look at the Phobos images, you'll see what can only be described as a monolith. This rock, this moon, that's perfectly flat, all of a sudden has this thing sticking up and it looks symmetrical.
Yeah.
And Buzz will tell you, hey, that's unusual. We don't see things like that.
Yeah.
And that's just one of many things.
Well, what is it?
About Mars.
What does Buzz think it is?
Well, it's a weird moon to begin with. The structure of it's hollow, and it doesn't seem to conform to what we would expect to be there.
But are there any aliens? Are there any aliens contained on this moon?
Why don't you just wait for him to explain?
Well, because I'm asking the question to try and get to the core of it. I mean, are there any aliens on this moon?
Yes, you're quite keen, as many people are, to try to figure out the truth of whether or not there's life out there. And we don't know. We haven't seen any concrete evidence, but we've seen enough that tells us, wait a second, now there's something going on here. And yeah, I mean, even the heads of NASA will say, well, life was certainly on Mars before it was on Earth, and our life probably started from Mars, because what happens is, rocks get kicked up, and they can fly through space and land on a different planet, and we're not that far, really, cosmically speaking. And they know that these little bits of life, these spores, can survive the harshness of space. It's called panspermia.
But nobody from NASA's officially said that they believe there's life on Mars, have they?
They have said that they believe life started on Mars and it helped kick off life on the Earth. But no, they haven't said that there's life on Mars. I think they're finding, precursors of the amino acids and methane and things like that.
Yeah, but Rob, this is all. Sorry, Rob, this is all gobbledygook. Can I ask you again? You're an alien hunter. How are you getting on? Have you found any aliens?
Well, we're not looking for aliens. We're looking for...
Well, hang on. You're an alien hunter.
Well, you call him that.
Yeah, I mean, if you were a big game hunter, you'd go to Africa and you'd be shooting lions and things. Now, you're an alien hunter.
You don't shoot aliens, do you?
No, you don't, but you're an alien hunter. So have you found any?
Well, I'm a bit of a researcher as well, but in the case of Mars, we're looking for the remains of either life or a civilization.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were looking for aliens.
Well,
it's all part of the same thing, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's not. I want to know if you found any aliens.
Well, you can't have an early civilization without alien beings,
Yeah, but talking about amino acids, that's 1/1,000,000th of an alien, I want to know if you've seen somebody resembling E.T.,
No.
padding around somewhere.
Of course not.
Look, there are no fast answers in ufology. This is a discipline of patience. And, you
patience?
That Rudyard Kipling poem earlier. I'm sure he had a few words of wisdom when it comes to appreciating, how things evolve and, being patient.
Well, we've been patient for about 3 million light years, haven't we? And we still haven't found any aliens. I think you should resign and give it up, mate, because an alien hunter, you appear to be a failure.
Very rude. That's very rude.
I'm not being rude. I mean, what do you call it?
Rob, but pay no attention to him. He's just very grumpy. He hasn't had a drink for 10 days. He's very upset.
It's not that at all. I just think it's ridiculous to be an alien hunter if there's no aliens. What's the point of hunting something that's not there?
All right, well, let's make it easy for Rob. Rob, tell us some of the things you've discovered then, if you haven't found any aliens.
Well, what we discovered on Mars is a variety of things that look interesting, things that look suspicious, things that look symmetrical.
What, like amino acids?
Let him speak.
Yeah. Seen a suspicious amino acid lately.
Let him speak.
Yeah, sorry, Rob. Go on.
No, well, there's this complex called Cydonia, which it doesn't just have these pyramid structures, but it has the classic face on Mars.
Yeah.
That a lot of people, a lot of controversy about. There's another city called Tithonia, which has amazingly artificial type features to it. So, now again, we don't get our hands on the raw data. You got to remember that every bit of information that you've ever seen from space from NASA has gone through their filters.
Oh, what you're saying is they're keeping it secret from us.
That's right, and we have evidence to suggest that they absolutely have. They've airbrushed.
But they haven't been able to keep anything.
You haven't got any evidence.
But the US government, Rob, haven't been able to keep anything secret for centuries. I mean, everything they ever try to keep secret always comes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they had
the Chinese would know about it now. I bet you the Chinese would find aliens if they had your job because they're a bit more diligent about the way they go about it.
I think I've heard enough now. No. Rob, listen, thank you. We've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. You're very rude to Rob.
Man's hopeless. Supposed to be an alien hunter, and he talks a load of rubbish about, he's seen a few shapes and there's a lot of amino acids
he's
about.
Trying to draw conclusions.
Well, I mean, how can you call yourself an alien hunter?
Well, because he is hunting for aliens.
If
he hasn't found any yet.
If I describe myself as...
Well, if you were a big game hunter and you were working down in Croydon, you wouldn't catch much big game, would you?
Well, no, that's not the right analogy.
So he's not in the right place, is he?
Listen,
he's not in the right place.
If I said to you, look, I'm retiring now and I'm going to Northumberland, there's a river there called the River Cokie, and I'm going to become a gold prospector.
I'd probably say Okie Cokie then.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to become a gold prospector. And I spent the next 3 years with my little pan and dish, sifting the water and all that, but I didn't find a speck of gold.
Yeah.
You'd say, I thought you were a gold prospector. But I haven't found any gold.
Rude.
That's the same as Rob, the old alien hunter. He's not an alien hunter.
Well,
Rob's a fantasist.
No, if you want to find gold...
A juice head.
No, you've got to go and find where the gold is, right?
Yeah, but you've got to go where the aliens are. They're not on the moon, on the Mars.
Well, he can't go to Mars, can he?
Well, he says he's got all the information and secret research and all that, and then talks about amino acids. What does an amino acid look like? What does an amino acid look like?
Anyone would think, it depends if you're looking at it under a microscope or not, anyone would think that with the amount of rubbish you come out with, that you talk absolutely perfect sense all the time.
Well, I talk more sense than alien hunter Rob.
Really?
He's never seen an alien.
Right, OK. This is Talk Sport.
Blinking failure.
What do you make of that?
What's that?
The song.
The song?
Yeah, what do you make of
it? It's okay.
Okay.
What am I supposed to say?
Well, this is Little Feat.
Little Feat?
I was telling you about.
Oh, yeah, what are they? A country and western group?
Well, not the country and western, no, but they're kind of country rock band, I guess.
Country rock band,
They were fantastic.
Yeah. Are the Eagles a country rock band?
I would say so, yeah. That was Fat Man in the Bathtub. Great song.
Fat Man in the Bathtub, yeah, it sounded all right. It didn't sound anything special.
Yeah, OK. I know it's not up to your general standards of going to Mountbatten's home and setting the belly dancer's hair on fire and
that wasn't my fault.
Listening to ABBA's greatest hits by the Pop.
Got a bit of response to that
James
today.
Last Poxy Orchestra.
Somebody put a picture together of a belly dancer with her hair on fire.
I know.
Which I thought was a bit harsh, but
now,
there we
Stock
are.
says this, all the aliens are from the dark side of the moon, you plank.
Yeah, well, that's why
Mark
I probably don't see them.
Mike Parry talks of 3 million light years as time. It's actually a distance.
Yeah, well, OK, but it takes time to get out there, doesn't it, if you see what I mean?
Here's one from Mustafayev who says, Porky needs a drink ASAP. We are seconds away from his liquids to explode.
What?
And Becky says, I'm a great believer in looking for aliens. They may have a cure for cancer.
Well, they might. That's absolutely true. But, I mean, considering the alien hunter we just spoke to, Rob Simone, never seen an alien, calls himself an alien hunter, man's a failure. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what...
What about people who are Yeti hunters and haven't seen a Yeti?
Well, nobody's ever seen a Yeti.
Well, some people claim they have.
And they claim to see a shadow in the far part, the far distance and all that under a tree.
Now,
and they claim that they've seen big footprints, but nobody's ever proven those big footprints were the Yetis.
Bigfoot footprints?
Yes, that's right,
Not big footprints.
Big footprints.
Bigfoot footprints.
Which could be Bigfoot footprints, indeed.
Yeah, Bigfoot footprints. Yeah. Kevin says, I've never heard Porky be so rude. Aggressive talk coming from a hobbit with an IQ of 47.
Excuse me, I'm not going to put up with some joker who comes onto this show and claims to be something he's not. I have the good nature and the will of millions of people who are the audience to look after.
Russell says, Porky back to his disrespectful self. #on the wagon.
No.
You are definitely more grumpy.
No, I don't think so.
Says, rudeness up to level 10. Shame on you, Porky.
Yeah, well, you say what you like. I don't put up with fools. I don't tolerate fools lightly. What's the expression? Don't something fools lightly.
Don't suffer fools.
Don't suffer fools lightly. That's right.
Suffer fools gladly.
Gladly. That's right.
How about from Derek in Pencoed?
Oh, the Bob Cleaner.
Mike, Porky's always saying if you're not winning, you're not trying hard enough.
That's right.
Does that explain why Everton haven't won a trophy for 20 odd years?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
they're not trying hard enough.
No, it's not that. It's just that we've been caught in a vicious financial trap. and actually everyone has been trying incredibly hard, and we've now got what we think is a result. So I think previous boards to the one that Mr. Kenwright put together didn't try hard enough, and that set us back a good 20 years.
Dear me.
We're in a good shape now. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about, man.
Yeah,
Do you remember earlier today...
Why do you call me man? Have you been
shouldn't I?
catapulted back to the 70s?
No, it's just an expression. Now, earlier today, we...
Okay, man.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. We relaunched Virgin Radio.
What?
We relaunched Virgin Radio.
Well, we launched Virgin Radio, didn't we?
We relaunched
I don't think we relaunched it.
No, Virgin used to be a radio, and then it sort of
but
went
it's
off
not.
the air.
But they're two things that are entirely disconnected, surely.
Well, I don't think so, because, anyway, the point is this.
What is the point?
Didn't Mr. Branson visit this building last week?
I think so.
I think he did.
I didn't see him.
Now, on the basis of that course, your eye's caught by things that you see, which says Virgin or Branson or something like that.
Well, your eye is.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Mine isn't.
I can't believe how incredibly successful Richard Branson is. I mean, I knew that he was a self-made billionaire.
What did you think? Yes. So you knew he was a self-made billionaire,
yeah,
but you had no idea how successful.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean the extent of his success. Now, for instance, he formed a budget airline in America.
Yes.
Right?
I didn't know that, actually.
He did. It was Virgin America. And even though he sold it on, he kept hold of a part of it, and he's now going to make another £500 million.
Is he?
Let me read this to you from this financial journal that I've come across. Right. The board of Virgin America has given two prospective bidders until the end of this week to table formal takeover offers, and it expects to thrash out a deal within the next fortnight. A successful offer by JetBlue or Alaska Air could result in a $500 million payout for Sir Richard Branson, who owns about 30% of the American carrier. The airline, which had its inaugural flight in 2007 and which went public in 2014...
Is this JetBlue?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Because I only really noticed...
It's valued at about $1.7 billion.
Because I only really noticed JetBlue, I would say, a few years back when I, having not lived in the States for quite a long time, I only noticed that they were actually there as a budget airline probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, maybe around about then.
To get it right, Virgin America still exists.
Does it?
But it's being bought by JetBlue.
Oh, I see.
JetBlue are trying to take it over, OK?
Oh, so he doesn't own JetBlue?
No, he owns Virgin America.
Oh, OK.
Right, OK. But that will become JetBlue.
So do they use Virgin America to fly you around if you fly Virgin, to New York?
I assume so. I assume if you fly, if you fly into, I flew. Last time I was on a Virgin plane, I flew to Las Vegas, and I assume that they've got internal flights there to get you to LA and San Francisco and all that. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
I would imagine. Anyway, just to go on, Virgin America was approached first by Alaska Air. Both airlines were. But then what they've done is they say to Richard launched Virgin America with a promise to fill a gap in the US airline market. That is pretty bold coming from a Brit going into the the very, very competitive American business market.
Well, the thing he's always been is bold, though, isn't he? I mean, he has always been very bold.
Anyway, it says he brought a premium branded but low-cost service, including power outlets at every seat, in-flight wireless internet access and Virgin's on-demand entertainment system, OK? The company, which operates a fleet of 58 Airbus... I mean, that's a big airline. 58 Airbus A320s, has performed well in consumer surveys and has been named repeatedly as America's best domestic airline, OK?
What, Virgin America?
Yeah. Yeah, America's best domestic airline.
I didn't even know he had an airline there.
No, sorry?
I didn't even know he had an airline.
That's what I'm saying. This is the whole point. Now...
But he doesn't own it, though, right?
He owns 30% of it.
OK.
Because he went public and sold the shares, but retained 30% of the shares himself.
So is he still the chairman or anything like that?
I can't tell you that because it doesn't say so here, but that 30% he owns is worth $500 million, which he'll get if JetBlue buy it, OK? Right. But anyway, it goes on to say...
So is this some big hagiography for Richard Branson you're giving me then?
Well, no, I'm just telling you, it is this man's business life is incredible. So it goes on to say...
he's a businessman. Why wouldn't it? Well, that's exactly what they do.
Because a lot of businessmen don't make this sort of success. They just fail, right? But anyway, just to finish, it did not make a profit until 2013. Yeah. I mean, this is the way guys run these businesses. You know that Ocado thing? I don't think that's ever made a profit.
No, hasn't made a profit.
And yet it's worth £1 billion.
Well, except it's kind of associated with Waitrose, so it's not quite the same, is it? I mean, they claim that it's a separate entity, but it's not really, because they work with Waitrose.
Anyway, it says in 2014 and 2015, it made full-year profits of $60 million and then $340 million, respectively. Right. So it's suddenly gone into profit, OK?
And it's hard to make a profit in an airline business as well, because most airlines are shrinking, aren't they?
Yeah, not only that, but the cost of fuel is so unpredictable. Yeah. So Richard's interest in the airline is restricted by foreign investment rules in the United States. He'll have to fight all that, which limit him to voting rights on 24.9% of shares. He holds a stake of about 30% through the Virgin Group, OK? But then what they do is they say just a list of Sir Richard's stakes in businesses. So in Virgin Atlantic, he's got 51%. Virgin Australia, 10%. Virgin Galactic, that's the take into space, 57%. Virgin America, 30%. Virgin Money, 34%. Virgin Active, 20%. Virgin Pulse, 20%. Virgin Care, 92%.
Well, that's obviously the secret, isn't it?
Well, Virgin Enterprises, 100%. Virgin Trains West Coast, which you and I travel on when we go to Newcastle or whatever.
No, we don't.
50, no, we don't? I do.
No, why'd you go on the West Coast if you go to Newcastle?
Oh, yeah, sorry, when we go to Liverpool or Manchester, sorry.
Right.
Liverpool or Manchester.
We don't travel together on a train anyway.
No, Virgin Trains West Coast, 50... Well, we went on a Virgin train recently somewhere.
Hey? No, we didn't.
Cheltenham?
No, we went to Cheltenham.
Yeah, was that not
Virgin train?
Okay, yeah. Right, Virgin Trains...
That was Great Western, I think.
That's right, it was.
Yeah.
Virgin Trains
West
West
Coast... He doesn't know any of
Coast...
that, does he?
Virgin Trains West Coast, 51%. Virgin Trains East Coast, 10%.
Have you seen the time?
Virgin Mobile Latin America, 15%. Virgin Mobile Middle East, 30%. Virgin Hotels, 80%.
So what?
Virgin Sport. I mean, this just goes on and on and on.
Well,
the man is a business genius. And I've stayed on his home island of Necker.
Yeah,
I stayed on Necker. I went water skiing around Necker and didn't even fall off.
What, were you invited by Richard Branson?
Yes, I was.
And was he there?
No.
This is Talk Sport.
Whiskey River, take my mind. Don't let her memory torture me. Whiskey River, don't run dry.
Whiskey River, eh?
Whiskey River, yeah.
One of your favourites?
Well, it's not one I know particularly well. It's a Willie Nelson song, though.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you a bit of an education on country music because obviously you're, complete and utterly, relentless rant against it at the start of the show.
Well,
has now changed.
I like rock and roll.
Well, you've now listened to quite a few country songs.
Yeah,
you've
they're
liked,
all right.
You've liked
They're
every
all right.
single one of them.
But if I went into a bar in Nashville and looked at the jukebox, I reckon there'd only be about 5 out of 100 records that I'd want to put money in and play.
Yeah, but if you went into any place and looked at a jukebox, you'd only recognise about 5 of the songs anyway, because they'd only be on a couple of the greatest hits albums that you've got.
No, don't be ridiculous.
Well, who's your favourite band then, apart from the Beatles and ABBA?
Well, Oasis.
Oasis.
Yeah, I like them.
They're not around anymore.
You know, Roxy Music. There's a few Roxy Music records. I like them very much. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, really good. And the Electric Light Orchestra. I like them. Yeah,
well, it's hardly rock and roll, is it?
Well, it is rock and roll. And Queen, of course, like all the Queen records.
On the light side.
Like all the Queen records. Listen, our favourite newspaper, which is called New Day.
The New Day, yes.
The New Day.
Yeah.
The box on the back today, the personal listography.
Yes, what is
List the last 3 people you hugged.
Oh, that's a good one for you. You probably haven't hugged anyone, have you?
I've never hugged anybody for years.
No. So, who were the last 3 then?
The last 3 would have been, members of my family, I suppose. Right. My 2 sisters, my mum, maybe.
Yeah. Haven't you hugged them recently?
Recently? I haven't seen them recently, I suppose. 2 weeks ago.
Well, that's quite recently.
Yeah,
I mean, I saw your sister quite recently. I was down in Bournemouth.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
I gave her a hug.
Yeah, that's very kind of you.
So have I hugged her more recently than you have, then?
Maybe Emma your daughter might have been one of the ones I hugged recently, yeah? I'll always give her a hug and I greet her.
Could be.
I give my friend, some of my friends at Talk Sport, who I work closely with, give them a hug occasionally.
Who?
Of the female variety.
Hug me.
No, I don't hug you.
Well, you hug women at Talk Sport.
Of course I do.
Like who?
Well, I don't want to go into
That's pretty
specifics.
Bizarre.
No, it's not.
You don't hug people at work. Work colleagues
Well, you do
don't
if you've been working with them for 12 years or something. Of course you do.
No, I don't think so.
Yes, you do, honestly.
That is very sexist behaviour, that.
Believe me.
Now,
looking through this paper, by the way, I'm afraid I still don't believe it has an awful lot of merit.
No.
I'm sorry to have to say that as a former journalist, but I don't understand it.
It's not getting any better, is it?
Well, I don't understand how you're supposed to read it. I don't know where your eye's supposed to go.
Some guy tweeted me yesterday, and I'm sorry to call him that, but I can't remember his name. He said that they started off giving him 30 free copies at his work on day 1. Then they sent them 20, and now they send them 4.
Yeah,
so I think that's indicative of the print run.
Yes.
But there we are.
Hi, I am David Overdale. He's retuning his guitar. What you need to do is retune your DAB radio. You'll receive a whole bunch of great new radio stations like Talk Sport 2, Talk Radio, and the return of Virgin Radio. It's a lot less complicated than writing Here I Go Again, especially the middle 8. But if you want more info, go to talksport.com/retune. Keep rocking in the free world while we still have one.
This is Talk Sport. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. The Porky quiz tomorrow night is on the Crimean War because there's some kind of anniversary, I think you mentioned yesterday, didn't you? Mostly in the... What do you mean, what?
What did you say? Sorry.
You're not paying attention.
I was, yeah.
You're not paying attention,
I was, yeah.
You're just sitting there in your own little world.
No, what did you say about the Crimean War?
I said that's what the quiz is on.
Yes, that's right.
But there's some kind of anniversary that you...
Anniversary?
Is the reason...
It is, yeah.
You just keep repeating the same words.
No, it happened this week in the year of the Crimean War.
In the year of the Crimean War. You don't know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
do you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, how about this one from Russ in Birkenhead?
Right.
Porky, what about Jamie Murray? He's now the #1 doubles player in the world.
Yes, he is, yes, thank you.
Your thing. And,
to add to our international sporting heroes,
somebody
quite
else
right.
who hasn't given a name says, don't forget all the great snooker, darts and pool players from Great Britain.
This is absolutely
Do
right.
you count pool as a championship
not really.
sort of game?
No, pool's a pub game.
Yeah. Posty in Brum says, hi, Mike and Mike, he says, does Porky remember DIVORCE? Tell him not to sing it. Tell him not to sing it. I don't want it to rain.
DIVORCE, the words that got to me.
No, it became final today, I think.
Became final today, yeah. Do you remember Billy Connolly's spat on that? What's it? Not spat. Take. Skit. Yeah, remember?
Spit on it.
Yeah, he sang a version live on stage on one of his shows where you couldn't tell the dog. Because the dog would have gone mad if he knew his master and mistress were breaking up.
Yes.
Well,
that is often a massive problem, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah,
the tug of love between the owners of the various pets.
Yeah.
Now here's this from Ken in Jarrow. He says the best musicians don't necessarily make the best music teachers. The same principle applies to Gary Neville's unsuccessful tenure as manager at Valencia.
Yes.
Conversely, just look at the managerial careers of Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, top managers but average players. I don't think that's the point at all, Ken. I think you've totally missed the boat on that.
Well, I totally agree with you there.
Now, by the way, I meant to mention this to you. Did you see that story about Eva Carnero quitting football?
She's gone back to Gibraltar.
She's going back to Gibraltar.
I didn't realise she was a Gibraltarian.
Yeah, that's exactly where she's been from, yeah.
Yes,
and she's going to be, as a sports medicine and exercise medicine consultant, Dr. Eva specialises in the treatment of athletes and other physically active individuals.
Yes.
Sports and exercise medicine physicians have extensive education in musculoskeletal medicine.
Yes, that's right.
So she's joining the Gibraltar Specialist Medical Clinic.
Yeah.
So I guess she's a doctor after all.
No, she's not, though,
Yeah,
is
she is. She's going back to be a doctor.
She's not, though. She's in a medical clinic.
Gibraltarian sports physician doctor, Eva Carnero.
Yes, being a sports division doctor is not like being your local GP, believe me.
I don't want to retread the whole argument, but she's being called a doctor.
You don't need to, because I'm right, honestly.
She's being called a doctor.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So, do you know her husband does, by the way, for a living? Jason de Carteret.
Yeah, what is he?
Do you know what he does?
No.
He's an explorer.
Explorer? Where's he go exploring?
Well, I don't know. Presumably he's going to be exploring the Rock.
The Rock,
now, I'm just it'd be great though to be an explorer because you imagine the number of times you wouldn't have to come up with an excuse. You'd be like,
"That's right,
I'm just off to do a bit of exploring, darling.
Yeah, I'm off exploring.
I'll be back in about 3 years."
Yeah, imagine if he comes home and he's got a gash on his face from his latest exploration. Oh, what happened? Oh, I ran into a Barbary ape, at the top of the Rock.
Exactly. I know. It's a very strange thing, but good luck to him.
Is there anything left in the world to explore, by the way?
Well, yeah, there's loads of parts of the sea that haven't been explored. There's loads of parts, actually.
All right. I mean, he hasn't got a submarine,
the deepest depths of the sea.
Yeah, but he doesn't say he's a mariner explorer or a submariner.
But he could be.
Nah, rubbish. Nonsense.
Woodenhead says, I 100% saw Mike Parry drunkenly hugging a lady at the Portsmouth 2 Mike show in the pub.
No, I don't think you did.
I think you did.
We didn't go to the pub, did we, afterwards?
Well, yeah, there was a bar.
Oh, the bar next door, yeah. Well, if somebody comes up to you and says, oh, Mike, you're wonderful and all that, your natural instinct is to say, oh, come on. But I hug very few people. I mean, the last time...
I'm sure they're very grateful for that.
No, the last time I was pictured hugging was the rock chick at Cheltenham.
At Cheltenham?
At Cheltenham,
do you remember her name?
Her name was... Kathy.
Your memory's awful.
Kathy?
So awful. You sang a song to her because of her name.
A song about a woman.
About a woman's name.
It wasn't Jolene.
No.
It wasn't Jolene. It was...
How can you not remember this? And
hang on.
When I ask you something about 1975, you know every single detail.
Hang on. That lady's name would have been Lucille.
No.
No?
Julia.
Julia.
That's about 10 songs
Mountain Child. Yeah, I know that one. Yeah, that's good. Now, listen, I'll tell you what I'll tell you about. I've come across a very dangerous situation. The country is being invaded by mad doves.
What?
Mad doves.
Mad doves?
Yeah, and do you know where they're coming from?
When doves fly.
Yeah, when doves fly. Now, that was Prince, wasn't it?
No, it was when doves cry.
This is where you go to when doves fly.
That's 11 songs now.
Yeah, isn't it? When doves
It's
fly?
when doves cry.
When doves cry. Okay, it was a great song.
This is what it sounds like.
That was Purple Haze, wasn't it?
No. Purple Rain.
No, Purple Rain. That was his Purple Rain era, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Eh? Purple Haze actually was...
Purple Haze was Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, I thought it was Whiter Shaded Pale.
No, that's Procol Harum.
Procol Harum. Right, now then. Here we go. Now, do you know where all these mad doves are coming from?
I don't know. The Mad Dove Sanctuary?
No. What's happening is...
Your roof garden?
No.
What sort of doves are they?
Well, this is the point, you see. This is what I've come across. It's a phenomenon. I got it from my nature journals,
really?
and you should be aware of it. When people get married now, the common practice the last 2 or 3 years is to release 2 white doves.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And pathetic.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was pretty pathetic. And further than that, it's been taken on rather morbidly by undertakers who now offer a service.
Well, black doves?
No, to release white doves at funerals, yeah.
Really?
If it's in a graveyard over the coffin,
I thought they were supposed to signify peace.
As we commit our brethren to the earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, and then new life comes and they release these doves,
When doves fly.
Anyway, what's happened is, this has been going on for so long now, that huge...
dove shortage?
No, huge colonies of doves are now breeding.
Right.
Wild doves.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
And attacking people,
Are they all white, though?
Are
they all white doves, then?
They're all white, yeah, they're all white doves, yeah. So according to the RSPB, that's the Royal Society for the Prevention of... Protection.
Yeah.
Prevention. Royal Society for Protection of Birds.
Yeah.
The common pigeon was domesticated centuries ago and bred over generations to produce the ornamental white dove.
Uh-huh.
However, now that a number are being released into the wild in much greater numbers, it's unclear what effect the species may have on its relatives, but we are getting now a crossbreed of crazy doves.
What, half pigeon, half dove?
Eh?
Half pigeon, half dove?
Yes, half pigeon, half dove.
Sort of a grey colour.
A sort of grey colour, and they're mad. They attack things and attack people. The practice of releasing white doves at weddings and funerals has seen the white dove population multiply across the UK, creating similar big problems for the environment.
Really?
Yeah.
When was the last funeral you went to?
I hate going to funerals.
Well, that's not the question.
I've turned down the last 3 funerals that I should have gone to.
Really?
I couldn't face it.
Right.
I don't
Why
like
not?
it. Eh?
What do you mean you turned them down?
I can't stand the sense of mortality and...
What do you mean you turned them down?
Well, I didn't go.
Well, you just didn't go?
Yeah, I didn't go.
You didn't turn them down?
Well,
it wasn't like they were asking you to do a turn or anything.
No, I had to think about it, and I thought, I'm not going. The last one I've told you about was my mate who was on the boat that got into Venice.
Oh, yeah.
Why
did you should have gone to his?
Well, it was in Great Sutton, which is very difficult to get to. No, it's Great Sutton on the Wirral.
Oh, I see. I thought you meant it was near, Little Sutton or whatever it is.
Eh?
Sutton in Stockbroker Belt.
No, that's Sutton. That's just Sutton. That's a town called Sutton. No, Great Sutton, I'm sorry. It's the same name, but it's totally different. It's in...
is that T-T-E-R-N? Is that a different spelling?
No. It's Sutton, but it's called Great Sutton, and it's on the Wirral.
Well, why are they so far apart?
Oh, I don't know. There's loads of Suttons. There's another Sutton in Yorkshire where that jail is, a high-security jail. Full Sutton.
Is it?
Yeah, it's called Full Sutton. Yeah, seriously, yeah. Anyway, look, no, I didn't go to that funeral.
Well, the reason I asked you that is I wondered if you'd seen any of these doves being released.
No.
I've not been to a funeral for a long time.
No.
And I've never seen doves being released at a funeral or a wedding.
I hate funerals. I remember going to the funeral of my mate Pete, who was a photographer on the Daily Express.
Yeah.
Such a nice lad, you wouldn't believe it, and very popular with everybody in the office and had a load of girlfriends and all that. And he... but a huge drinker, like a lot of us in those days. He went on a snorkelling holiday with another photographer from the Daily Mail, and they got back to the hotel, and tragically, they went out onto the balcony to have a nightcap, and the rail had been taken away to be cleaned, brought back, placed where it should have been, but not screwed in.
But not screwed in?
Yeah, I'm not joking. And Pete leaned on it, bang, and he went right over the balcony.
Right.
He was about 4... floors up, smashed his head and all that kind of stuff. And do you know the amazing thing that happens when people are about to die?
No.
So they go down and get poor old Pete, right, and they put him on the stretcher, and they're carrying him into the hospital, and all of a sudden, he literally lurched forward and sat up on the stretcher and said, "Can I have a drink, please?"
Well, he smashed his head in.
His head was all smashed in. Yeah. And he, "Can I have a drink, please?" And the medics sort of, no, he's delirious, and he died about half an hour later from a fractured skull.
And you didn't go to his funeral?
I did go to his funeral.
Oh, you did?
I went to his funeral. It was in Yorkshire, and I was still working in Manchester.
Right.
But it was very maudlin. All his family turned up, his daughters.
I mean, you would expect a funeral to be.
Oh, I hate it.
Of course it's maudlin.
No, I don't. I just don't like it, honestly. What I mean about him sitting up on the stretcher, right?
Yeah.
Another mate of mine, his older brother died.
Yeah.
His name was David.
You told me a story about a guy sitting up before. It's a different guy.
This is a different guy.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I got a phone call from a mate, and he said, I'm afraid David's passed away last night. I knew he'd been ill. I said, oh. He said, yeah, it was strange, really. I said, why? He said, well, he hasn't really been conscious for about a week. He said, and then...
He hasn't been conscious for a week?
For a week, yeah.
Well, did you think of calling a doctor?
No, they knew he was dying. He just wasn't conscious.
Oh, right.
So he said, and then we got called to the bedside.
It's the time, by the way.
Don't worry about the time. We got called to the bedside, so we went there, and as we walked in and sat by the bed, after him not being conscious for a week, he suddenly sat up in bed and said, let's all have a sherry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So my mate went off and got a bottle of sherry, came back, they poured a glass, they all had a glass each, and then he said thank you, and lay down and died.
Right.
I mean, I've heard about this several times.
Really?
People who
I've
suddenly
never heard
sit
anybody else
bolt
tell these
upright,
kind of stories.
yeah, and say hello, or ask for a drink, or something like that, or can I have a sandwich, and then they just lie back and die.
That sounds very suspicious to me.
No, I've
Well, you're telling me it's happened twice. And I've never heard of it happening any other
I've heard
times.
about it. It happened to Jean Rook. Jean Rook was in a sort of semi-coma, the great writer for the Daily Express, and I was there. And we drove all the way down to Kent to see her, and she did exactly the same. Sat up in bed, said hello, and then died. It was amazing. Yeah.
Shocking.
It's an amazing phenomenon.
Yeah. I don't know, but I don't know if it convolutes your own argument.
I kind of like them a bit, but I mean, I honestly wouldn't buy them to play at home or anything like that, like you do.
I think you'd be surprised.
No, I wouldn't, honest to God.
If you bought like the best of country or something like that,
I'll
you'd
tell
get
you
all
what,
these ballads and
if
things
you're
like
asking me what is my favourite ever country record, without a shadow of a doubt, it's got to be...
You'd have to sing another one. It's too much singing.
Mississippi.
What?
I'll be on
it's too much singing.
My way. No, who sang that?
I've no idea.
It was a girl group, 3 of them.
Yeah.
And the video showed them on a typical sort of Southern Belle type paddle steamer.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And it was called...
Like the Riverboat Gambler.
Yeah, that's right. The record was called Mississippi, and I think the group who sang it were called Mississippi.
But it was probably some Pete Waterman deal, wasn't
Maybe. It was 3 blonde-haired girls, and I know the first line was... Well, the river runs
That's too much
down
singing.
there
Why are you singing so
until
much?
the sea.
You've hardly done any singing lately.
Listen, if we're talking about country and western
but
music,
you don't have to sing the songs.
talking about country and western music, you're bound to evoke the flavour of it by giving some of the background
but you're
sounds.
killing them all, though. And you're getting all the words wrong.
I think not.
You are. How about this from Scott? He says, how can Porky get major songs wrong but remember details so accurately of a thing that happened in school age 7?
Well, that's because I've got a forensic mind.
Yeah,
that's
but
why.
Your forensic mind seems to run out of capability by the time you reached about 1995. Porky's in fine form this evening. Can't remember a thing, song, verse, or name, says Rick, but thoroughly entertaining nonetheless.
Thank you. Now, listen, have you ever thought about how you would react to torture?
What?
Torture.
Have I ever thought about how I'd react to it? Well, I suppose I may have had a passing thought about it.
I mean, in our profession, there's always the risk at some stage you might get sort of seized in some brutal country and locked up and then given the old
not so much nowadays.
The rubber cosh treatment.
Not
you
so
know
much
what I mean?
nowadays. I mean, perhaps in the old days when we were reporters. I mean, I was in Bosnia.
Yeah.
There was a risk of that.
Oh, there was a risk of that when I was in Libya. There was a risk of that when I was,
Nobody would bother taking you hostage, though. Because they'd have you for about 5 minutes and realise it'd be a lot better for everyone if they just let you go.
Anyway, look, I've got a new report here.
A couple of people saying that group was called Pussycat, by the way.
Pussycat, thank you, Mississippi.
So they were not a country. But don't sing it again.
Well, hang on. They must have been country. If they sing a song called Mississippi,
why?
And the video pictures them on a
right. So they must be a country and western
paddle
band.
boat. Of course, they must be. You
How
idiot.
Stupid can you be?
Well, they're hardly sort of Germanic, are they?
Well, Germanic.
Yeah.
Well, they might be.
No,
I wouldn't be.
ridiculous.
They sound to me like a manufactured group.
Yeah. Now listen. If you were to be tortured, do you know what torturers do these days?
What do they do?
They mentally torture you before they actually inflict any pain on you.
Hey, look, they were Dutch.
Who were?
Mississippi. The song Mississippi.
Yeah.
Sung by a girl group that was invented in Holland. Betty, Marianne and Tony Kowalczyk.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, because you said, well, they're not going to be Germanic, are they? But they were actually quite close to being Germanic.
But they're a country group,
they're not
even
a country
if they come
group.
from Holland.
No, they're not.
Of course they are.
No, they're not. They are from Holland. They had one album, one song, and it was one of these manufactured sort of Pete Waterman-style groups.
But it was a great song, Mississippi.
It wasn't a great song.
Now, listen,
anyway, sorry,
please.
go back to your torture.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been torturing me all night, to be fair.
No. What they do is, first of all, so for instance, if they're thinking of giving you the electric cattle pod to the testicles treatment, right?
Cattle pod?
Yeah, the cattle prod. Yeah, no, that's what they do. Then what they do is, this is the new procedure for torturers. They put you in the cell next door.
Right.
But there's only bars between the cells, so you can see. And then...
What do you mean, so you can watch them torturing somebody else?
Exactly. This is the whole thing. And then what they do is they string the bloke up in the cell next door and they get the cattle prod out and they give it him, sort of badly.
Yeah.
So that he's jerking all over the place and, all this kind of stuff,
Like that scene in Casino. You know when they give the guy the electric cattle prod to remove him from the table? Have you seen Casino?
No.
Have you not seen Casino?
No. Who's in that?
Well, Robert De Niro for a start, Sharon Stone.
Oh, that sounds good.
Gangster film.
Anyway, so the point is, this is what they do, right? So the sheer fear of what's going to happen to you is enough for you to break.
Well, that's a well-known tactic, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. But
well, it is, yeah. I mean, it's like if you have people, in a room and you decide to shoot one of them in order to say that, one of you's going to talk.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to talk, I'm going to shoot him.
Yeah.
And then finally they get to somebody who's going to talk.
Okay. And the other one...
Why are you so fascinated with torture, anyway?
Well, because I've always thought, how would I cope under torture?
You wouldn't cope at all. You would give up.
I think I'd...
you would shop everybody to get out. That's what you would do.
I got access to an SAS-style book on how to resist torture.
An SAS-style book?
Yes, that's right, yeah. I can't tell you where I got it from.
Really?
Yes.
Did you get it from that guy that used to come in here?
Eh?
The SAS guy?
No. Who was that? Huh?
The guy who's always being interviewed because he used to be in the SAS, but he has a different identity.
Oh, he wrote Bravo 20.
Yeah, Bravo 20.
Bravo 20, yeah. No, it's not him, no. But what you do is, you know what you do? You close your eyes while the torture's going on and you concentrate on that second. You don't concentrate on what's happened 5 seconds ago or what's going to happen in 5 seconds. You have to concentrate on that very second so you don't feel the pain.
You mean while they're torturing you?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
That's right, yeah.
Well, I would imagine that when you're getting a cattle prod around your genitalia,
that's right.
It's pretty much difficult to concentrate on anything but that
No,
second.
you just close your eyes and you say this...
What's the most pain you've ever felt?
Most pain I've ever felt?
Because, men, generally speaking, are not very good with pain.
No, they're not. Well, you see, my great fear is, and I still have nightmares about it, when I was a kid, I was about 5, and I watched one of the, sort of Second World War films, and the Bosch, the old, the Germans, the SS, were torturing somebody. And
they weren't particularly graphic, those films, were they?
Well, no, but the guy goes into the commandant's office, and he says, they have given him the treatment, but he will not talk. And the commandant says...
Giving him the treatment?
Yes, it's in. And the commandant says, what have you done to him so far?
Right.
And the commandant says, they have given him the hot iron down the spine, and they have pulled out his fingernails. And the commandant says, and he still won't talk. He says, no. Then pull out his toenails. So he goes off to pull out his toenails. Now... Ever since then, I started biting my fingernails.
Right.
Because I thought, I can thwart them.
But this is not the question I asked you.
Yeah.
I asked you
if you
what's
bite
the
your
most
fingernails,
pain.
they can't pull your fingernails out. Because I thought they did it with pliers.
Yeah, they
can.
But
they don't. They get a knife and stick it on. No, they get a chisel and stick it underneath your nail.
They can pull your nails out no matter how long they are.
Oh, no.
Trust me. So you might as well let them grow again.
Can't even think about it.
But why have you not answered the original question?
What's the original question?
The original question is what's the most pain you've ever been in?
Well, I'm trying to think. I think it's...
Because I don't think you can take much pain.
Oh, I don't like pain, I have to admit.
Well, most of us don't like it. The question is, how much of it can you take?
The worst pain I've ever had is toothache, without a shadow of a doubt.
Toothache can be pretty awful.
I mean, just terrible, almost like you want to throw yourself out of the window. You know what I mean? Honestly.
Absolutely,
drives you mad. Drives you mad. But anyway, the point of this story...
Don't you want to know how much pain I've ever been in?
How much pain have
So you don't, do you? You don't care?
Yeah, go on.
There's no reciprocation.
No, go on.
I ask you a question, and you just move on.
No, go on.
You're not interested in me, are you? You couldn't care less about me.
Well, I care more about our millions of listeners. And I wanted to tell them this came from a study by University College London, who says that just the fear of being lashed is enough to make you speak, not the number of lashes you're going to get. You know
I'm sure that's true.
Anyway, how much pain have you been in?
I don't think I've got time to tell you. Well, it was when I broke my wrist. I broke my wrist playing football once, and
that's pretty common. That happens to a lot of people.
It wasn't particularly painful when I broke it.
Yeah.
In fact, when I did break it, the woman who was running the place said, "Oh, you'll be all right, darling. Just go home and put some frozen peas on it."
Yeah.
But I had to go to the Royal Free Hospital to get it reset because it had been actually my whole weight had gone over on it.
So it could have been gangrenous.
Well, I don't think it was going to be gangrenous, but what had to happen was that the surgeon had to come in and they had me lying on a sort of gurney, right?
Yes.
And he had to put his foot up on the desk and grab my arm and pull it. As hard as he possibly could.
Doesn't sound good.
To try and put it back into the right place.
Doesn't sound good.
The thing about that was that was under anaesthetic. They give me a local anaesthetic. But when I came out of the hospital and I was waiting to be picked up by my now ex-wife, the anaesthetic wore off. And because he'd been pulling this thing around literally for about half an hour, it was the most painful thing. I mean, I felt like throwing myself under a bus.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I'd got some not very good painkillers, which hadn't kicked in yet.
Have you seen Marathon Man?
Yes, of course
Can
I
you
have.
imagine that pain?
I told you about Marathon Man the other week when you were slagging off Laurence Olivier.
Can you imagine if they put a drill through a
This is the film you said
tooth?
Laurence Olivier was no good in.
Well, I just said that he wasn't the greatest actor in the world, that's all. People gave me a hard time about that.
Yeah, you got that one wrong as well. Anyway, we're out of time as ever. Coming up next is Porky Vision.
Time for a new 16-plate van. Time for a Mercedes-Benz Citan, Vito or Sprinter. How about 0% APR and a service plan for just £10 a month across the whole model range? There's never been a better time than this March to drive away with a new 16-plate Mercedes-Benz van. Clock's ticking. Find out more at mbvans.co.uk. Business users only. Hire purchase only. Maximum term 36 months. Minimum deposit 20%. VAT at 20% applies. Credit approvals by 31st of March 2016. Mercedes-Benz Finance.
Hello, and welcome to another day of export opportunity. UK social enterprises are valued the world over. And right now, there are hundreds of live export opportunities that could be right for your social enterprise. From retail, to food and drink, to education. Find yours by visiting exportingisgreat.gov.uk.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Crocodile Shoes is a theme song to Crocodile Shoes, not Spender.
Yeah, but he played Spender in Crocodile Shoes, didn't he? Well, I think so.
I mean, you're the expert.
No,
you're
hang
the
on.
guy.
Spender was a different series, yeah.
It is that time of the year, ladies and gentlemen, or the week even, where we do the best TV review this side of any particular place we can think of. This week it's Valencia, of course, because Gary Neville's in the news. So, tonight the BAFTA nominations have come out, but nobody knows exactly who's going to win it. Quite a few of your previously named shows have been honoured with BAFTA nominations, haven't they?
Yeah. There you go.
So what do you got for us tonight?
Right, now then, I made a mistake on May Gray. Because I watched the wrong one.
You did indeed, yeah.
Michael Gambon.
Which is the 90s version, isn't it?
90s version.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah?
He was good.
Yeah.
I thought he played a fine role, and I do like the old Parisian stuff.
Can you imagine him being better than Rowan Atkinson?
Well, I saw a bit of Rowan Atkinson, because I managed to check a bit of that out on, is it iPlayer?
Yes. Well, it would have been iPlayer if it's BBC.
No, it was on...
ITV Player, maybe?
ITV Player, that's right, yeah. Now, the plot was all about...
The original May Gray was on in like the late 50s, wasn't it?
Late 50s, yeah. Yeah, I think it was. Now, the original plot, let me just see, is about... the Brazilian detective, he's got to trap the killer of 4 women.
What?
He's got to trap the killer of 4 women.
Is this the new one or the one you saw?
This is the Rowan Atkinson one.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Right.
And I think he'll be very good.
A serial killer?
Yeah, I think he'll be very good. He smokes a pipe a lot.
Does he?
Yeah, he smokes a pipe.
Right. This is not the one you said the author of this show was a mass Rogerizer.
Simonsen.
Yeah.
Simonsen was the guy who wrote the books, wrote over 100 May Gray books.
Yeah.
He was a mega Rogerizer around Paris.
Yeah.
Well known for it.
He must have known Toulouse-Lautrec then.
He would have known Toulouse-Lautrec, I bet you. And one wonders where he had time to write all these books, because he spent so much time leg-overing with a lot of French beauties. Okay.
Yes.
But anyway, that's by the by.
There's been one series episode so far, which was last weekend, May Gray.
Yeah, it was on Tuesday, I think, wasn't it? Was it on Tuesday?
Well, I don't know.
No, it was on Easter Monday.
Easter Monday.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
That was the first one.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to postpone my actual review of that until I've seen it.
Okay.
For obvious reasons.
Good thinking.
Yeah,
Is this
exactly.
a new policy on Porkyvision then?
Well, I think so.
Try and watch it
Now, I'll
first.
tell you what else I watched.
Yeah.
I watched Country File.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Country File's good.
You mentioned this the other night.
It's all about the country.
Yeah.
Now,
there was a little girl delivering lambs.
Well, that came out of the same programme.
Yeah.
Now, also, did you know that pubs in this country were invented by monks?
Yeah, well, I knew drinking was pretty much invented by monks.
This is exactly what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
So I watched Country File.
Yeah.
What's it all about? It's about an orchard in Herefordshire, and in this orchard they take all the apples off the trees and make loads of cider. Now the thing is, the historical note to this is that there's a church nearby, and the church nearby, built in 1170, is credited to be the first pub in the country.
Really?
Because what they did is they had to raise money to keep the church going, and they had the orchard was attached to the church.
So they made the cider and sold it in the pub?
Made the cider, sold it in the church.
All right.
But they called the church the public house.
Did they?
The public house of God.
I was going to say, surely it's the house of God, isn't it?
Yeah, but it is the public house of God. That's what they called it. And they stuck a broom.
It had a bar in it.
It's had a bar in it. They stuck a broom outside, indicate that there is refreshment here.
A broom?
A broom.
Why would that be the sign?
I don't know, but an upturned broom, you stuck that out of the top window of the building you were in to indicate that there was alcoholic beverage on sale.
How strange.
Now, the other thing was, in those days, you drunk beer and cider instead of water, because the water was usually foul and could poison you. Okay?
But they used that water to make the beer and the cider, surely?
That came from the river.
Oh, okay.
Came from the river. So that was all right.
Okay.
The actual water, that you had in the water...
Well, they didn't have much of a sewage system in those days.
Didn't have any sewage system, unfortunately.
No.
No, pretty mucky,
Horrible.
Yeah. Now, and that's good. Country File is good.
You like Country File?
I think it's good.
I find it very twee.
No, it's good. Now then, I also watched a bloke walking around the coast of Australia.
Uh-huh.
And it's called Coast Australia. That's right, yeah. It was, yeah. It was called Coast Australia.
Ah. Well, there you are.
No, it's the same bloke who walks around Britain.
The Scottish guy with long hair.
Yeah, that's right. Neil somebody.
Neil,
yeah.
He's a professor, isn't he?
Is he?
He's a professor, yeah.
I think he is a professor. I think you're right. He's very good. So, anyway, he goes to a place where there was like a convict colony.
Yeah.
Okay?
Uh-huh.
So it looked a bit like that TV series I reviewed on here a few months ago.
Wasn't it called Australia?
What?
The show that you were talking about.
No, it was called Banished, wasn't it?
Banished?
Was it called Banished?
Or was it not Botany Bay?
It was Botany Bay, and what happened was...
Banished, maybe he's right, yeah. But that was mostly about Rogerisation on a boat, wasn't it?
No, it was Rogerisation in the penal colony.
Oh, in the penal colony.
Because the officers of the British Army had to have their conjugal rights with the female prisoners.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
So they had to share them out and all this kind of stuff.
That, funnily enough, fits in because we're going to get Sandra Lee on the show tomorrow to talk about this and the way that they're now saying that you can't talk about the settlers anymore.
No.
You have to talk about them colonising.
Yes, that's right.
And invading.
Definitely colonising and invading.
So where was this place he was walking around?
Don't know. Adelaide, was it?
Adelaide?
Somewhere like that.
I don't know. Why are you asking me?
Well, I don't know, really. But it was very good. Now then, the other things I've seen this week are, of course, we've seen the last of The Night Manager.
Yeah, be careful you don't give away the ending.
Oh, I can give away the ending.
No, you can't. I've already had a couple of requests from people saying, please don't give away the ending.
Well, it's their fault they haven't seen it.
Well, it may be their fault.
At the end of the day,
they might have been away.
Old Pine, right?
Pine?
Oh, I told you somebody was going to get tortured. It wasn't Pine. It was his bird.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way.
His bird?
Guess what I discovered?
You sure you want to call her that?
Well, his girlfriend.
His girlfriend?
Well, no.
She's not actually his girlfriend,
Roper's girlfriend.
Yeah.
But Roper suddenly discovers she's betrayed him.
Yeah.
Guess what? She gets tortured.
Yeah.
And you know what torture they give her?
What do they give her?
They give her the water torture. So they fill the bath with water.
Oh, yeah, they stick her head underneath.
Stick her head under the water.
Although she gets cut as well.
Well, it's not quite explained how her face is all bloodied and bruised.
I mean, it's not. I think they do more than just putting her head under the water.
Well, I think they smacked her around a bit, but also I think they stubbed cigarettes out on her skin.
Yeah.
It's not very pleasant. Now, the other thing is...
Yeah, go on.
In the end, Pine gets his revenge by completely screwing up the $300 million arms deal by managing to blow up all the arms.
Yeah.
So Roper's then left with a $300 million bill.
Yeah.
Which he owes to some very nasty people in Egypt, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Now, where the twist in the tale comes at the end...
Yeah, we never give this bit away.
No, it's all right, don't worry.
There's some money transferring, isn't there?
Now, where the twist comes in the end is that Roper is officially arrested by the Egyptian police.
Yeah.
And him and all his henchmen. And he sneers because he says, I've got the head of police in this city in my pocket.
Yeah.
This is Cairo.
Right.
But you see, what happens is, as he put into the police van, all of a sudden, the heavies from the gang that he sold the weapons to, who have already paid him $300 million, decide on natural justice. They stop the police convoy taking Roper away, pull all the policemen out, throw them aside. They then take over. So the last scene you see is
Roper.
Roper.
Want to see the last scene we see.
Roper is chained up in the back of a police van, but it's not being driven by a policeman anymore, who he can bribe.
Right.
It's being driven by a dirty, torturing thug who is going to hang him upside down and pour Coca-Cola down his nose.
Yeah, or possibly attack him with one of those electric cattle prods.
Or even flame.
Genitalia.
With his genitalia, or flame, or something like that, you see. So that was worth watching. That was very good indeed, okay?
All right. And there's going to be another series, isn't there?
Well, I don't know.
I think there is.
But I'll tell you one thing I discovered, which was brilliant, and I think this is the most notable aspect of Porkyvision this week.
Yeah.
Hugh Laurie, who played Roper.
Yes.
And what was the name of the guy who played Pine?
You're thinking about Tom?
Tom Higglestone.
Tom
Higglestone.
Right.
And the lady,
What's her name?
Ditchy. D-I-C-K-I.
D-I-C-K-I.
Dicky.
Isn't that Dicky?
Ditchy. It's pronounced Ditchy.
Ditchy?
Caroline Ditchy.
Where's she from?
Is it Caroline? Sorry?
Where's she from?
She's from Australia. No, she's from New Zealand.
She's from New Zealand?
Yeah, she's from New Zealand.
Are you sure it's not Elizabeth?
Elizabeth Ditchy.
Elizabeth
Ditchy, that's it. Yeah, you got it right. You got it right. Now then...
Are you sure it's not Debeeky?
Is it Debeeky? Let me have a look here. Hang on a sec. What's the problem?
Well, I don't think you get the names right.
Elizabeth Debeeky. It is Debeeky, I think.
So it's not Caroline Dickey, then?
No, it's Debeeky, isn't it?
Caroline Ditchy.
Well, it's Debeeky. Now then, the point is...
Debeeky.
Guess what
Is she related to Debeeky up in the Wirral?
No, you idiot. No, so what I discovered is... in my research...
Yeah. Which didn't, funnily enough, include discovering how to pronounce their names.
Well... Ms. Debeeky, Hugh Laurie, and Tom Higglestone.
Yeah, Tom Higglestone.
Yeah, you're not going to believe this.
What?
Are all 6'2" tall.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what I discovered? The funny thing at the weekend.
What?
Not only Hugh Laurie, Tom Higglestone, but the other Tom, the shorter guy.
He's 5'4".
They all went to the same school.
No, I don't think that's true.
It is true.
Well, Higglestone went to Eton.
No, I'm talking about the prep school they went to. They all went to the same prep school.
Maybe.
Boarding school called the Dragon School or something like that.
It's becoming a rich man's profession, acting. There's no doubt about that. Unless you're very posh and rich.
Bad news for you, then.
Can't get into it. Well, I don't want to be an actor anyway. I'm a successful journalist and broadcaster, so I have no problems with that. Now,
you've seen the time, by the way. I think we've finished now.
Oh, I'll tell you the other thing.
Else.
The other thing that was really good. The Queen at 90.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Is she 90 already?
2 hours of sheer joy for royalists.
45 minutes each.
What?
The Queen at 90.
What are you talking about, 45?
Well, it's like gave it two halves.
Don't be an idiot.
2 45s and 90.
And I can tell you, cameras were allowed unprecedented access to follow her for over a year.
Great.
And have a look at everything she did at various events.
Tremendous.
Scintillating.
What was the highlight?
The highlight?
What was the highlight?
I think it was seeing her out riding with the Duchess of Cornwall somewhere.
Really?
Yes.
Sounds fantastic.
Yes, indeed. It was all good stuff.
Yeah.
It was a great week on TV, believe me.
I can surely believe that.
Okay.
We'll get another Porkyvision coming same time next week. This is Talk Sport.
Don't miss it.
The two mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to the strawberry fields. Nothing is real, nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. It's getting hard to be someone when it all works out.
What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty good, actually.
Do you?
I mean,
I thought that might make you feel a little bit puce.
Not really. There's all sorts of versions of Strawberry Fields Forever. One that I have heard is by a guy called Richie Havens.
Richie Havens, yeah. I've interviewed him, actually.
Have you? Yeah, well done. And
well done? What do you mean, well done?
Well, you know, that you've interviewed a man who played
well done
played a Lennon song.
No, he played at Woodstock, Richie Havens.
Oh, did he? That's right, yeah. But anyway, he played a slow, drawn-out version of Strawberry Fields, but it was with his distinctive and bright voice, you know what I mean? And I thought it was terrific, I really do. I mean, not many people improve on Beatles records.
That's a band called Hayseed Dixie, right? And they take songs and they turn them into that kind of, hillbilly style. They do Highway to Hell by AC/DC, which is brilliant.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to be very careful how you treat a classic like Strawberry Fields of Forever.
Yeah, well, I wish you'd be a bit more careful about how you treat them when you sing them. How about this from Graham in Bath? Talking about Marathon Man, can either of you remember the famous saying uttered repeatedly by Laurence Olivier as he's torturing Dustin Hoffman?
Isn't it something like, let's find a fresh nerve or something?
No.
What is it?
It's 3 words.
You've told me this before.
I have.
What is it?
3 words.
3 words. No, I can't remember.
Is it safe?
Is it safe?
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be what the key question?
Saying, because Dustin Hoffman doesn't know what he's talking about. He just keeps saying, is it safe? And he's like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, and then, oh, God.
And he just keeps drilling into
a nerve.
Into a fresh nerve.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely. Here's one from Roger in Mansfield, who says, my worst pain is violent migraines. The trouble is that with most pain, you can use your mind to help control it. However, with very violent migraines, you can't, because it's your head and brain that hurts so much.
Oh, really? Yeah. And Townsend, who I used to work with, obviously, in this very studio, he used to get terrible migraines. I'm
not surprised working with you. Well, I've got a headache now working with you
Sometimes
today.
At 20 minutes' notice, he'd say, I can't do it. And he'd get blurred vision.
No, it's a terrible affliction.
He'd be going out and vomiting and everything. It was terrible.
Yeah, well,
shocking.
You don't have to give us all the details.
Well, no, but I mean, you've got to be like sympathetic to these people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You don't sound very sympathetic.
Oh, I'm sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, I've got a headache working with you today. I don't know what it is. I think it's all that singing. Yeah, Marco says not Simonsen, Simonon.
Simonon, that's it. Yeah. That's him.
Thomas says, country file is good. It's all about the country.
Yeah.
#plank.
Yeah, well,
and Ian says, that's the quote of the night. Well, I like country file. It's all about the country. Hold the front page.
Yes, but you know what I'm talking about, don't you? You know what I mean? Don't worry about it. There's too many people getting too specific about these things.
Yeah.
I give you a broad brush when I give you Porky Vision, the TV review. Don't have to be too specific about everything.
Michael says, my work desk is soaked in tears of laughter listening to Porky Vision. Complete incoherent garbage.
What? How dare you? I mean, do you know how much work I put into
Peter makes a good point.
Research?
Peter makes a good point. He says, if they recognise the sign of the broom for a pub, it can't have been the first one. Which is true.
What do you mean?
Well, how did they know that the upturned broom was the sign of a pub if there hadn't been one before?
Well, they'd come to an agreement about how to mark the buildings where you could get
but
ale.
I mean, how would anybody know that was a pub sign if they didn't know that pubs existed?
Well, because they, by word of mouth in a community, you idiot.
By word of mouth.
How does anything spread around? How do people get to know about things? You are a complete oaf sometimes, honest to God.
Really?
You pick on problems just to highlight things, just to cause me trouble. That's what you are, a troublemaker.
Right.
Do you know why?
Well, here's another question.
Do you know
for
why?
You, right? Here's another question. No,
you can't expand your thoughts like I can, and you get jealous and envious of my thinking pattern.
See, I always know you're very transparent. Whenever you start abusing me, it's because you're getting caught out.
I don't think so.
You're feeling unhappy.
I think
because you can't defend your hopeless position. Because if it was all going to be spread by word of mouth, why would they need the broom in the first place?
Because strangers might come walking through the village.
Well, they haven't told them, though.
With a pig.
Yeah,
that's right.
Strangers with a pig?
Yeah.
Will they allow pigs into the pubs, then?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
That's where the pigs lived, actually.
What, in the church?
Well, yeah, that's right. In medieval times...
Are you sure about this?
In medieval times, when people were on the move, and they were all the time seeking work and food and all that...
Seeking work and food?
Yeah. They always travelled with a pig.
Why?
Because the pig was their...
Or was it like a canary?
No, you idiot.
To make sure the air was okay.
No, the pig was their wealth. And the pig provided them, with food for maybe 3 months.
How did a pig provide them with food?
Well, you kill it, and then you...
Oh, so you carry a dead pig around?
No, you don't carry a dead pig around. You carry the pig with you until you decide...
Well, that's it for the pig.
Well, all is lost. We can't find a job, we haven't got any food.
If it's a bit of a quiet night, you can just torture it for a while, I suppose.
No, you don't torture it, but you slaughter it, and then you cut it up into pork chops.
Then what do you do with it?
And bacon.
Pork chops and bacon?
Yeah.
Do you think they had a processing meat plant being pulled behind them in a carriage?
No, you idiot. They had a knife, and they knew how to cut animals up in those days because everybody had to do it. Otherwise, you starved. I tell you something. If you're on a desert island,
a weird place.
If you're on a desert island,
mate, a weird place, Hereford,
and there are a couple of wild boars and nothing else, you'd soon learn how to kill the wild boar, mate.
So, approximately what year are we talking about here in Hereford when they were making this cider?
That would be
the 10th century or something.
Yeah, 10th century.
So the general scene in Hereford, 965.
Yes.
AD. There's a load of drunks wandering about with pigs under their arms.
No, that's absolutely right.
Over in the corner, some of them, slaughtering one.
No, that's
another guy somewhere else making bacon.
That is about right.
And they're all going, look, there's a broom. We must be able to go and get another drink.
That is about right. That's how it
life was like.
Every village was built around a pond.
Uh-huh.
The pond water was never good enough to drink because...
Why did they build a village around it then?
You normally built settlements around water because water was the staff of life.
Well, not if it's poisoned.
Well, no, exactly. That's why
they weren't too bright, though, were they?
They had to start drinking beer and cider.
Yeah. Andrew in Bournemouth says...
You have an awful lot of questions, but no answers, you know.
Well, here's an answer for you. Andrew says the pub is actually a Roman invention. I think you may be right.
No, it's not.
Because I've been to Pompeii. Have you been to Pompeii?
Pompeii?
Yeah.
No, I've been to Rome.
Oh, good.
Well,
Pompeii's down in the Bay of Naples, right?
I thought Pompeii was the lost city.
Well, it wasn't lost city. It was a city that was covered in ash from Mount Vesuvius,
right? That's the one.
And the great thing about Pompeii is that it's almost complete, because of the ash, it's been almost completely kind of preserved. Oh. So much so that you can see the tracks of the wheels in the cobblestones.
Well,
that
sounds good.
Around the whole the town as it was, right?
Yeah.
And there were plenty of pubs in Pompeii.
Yeah.
Because wine was very much going...
Oh, yeah. The Romans were into it, all right. No. But they had taverns. I'm talking about the English pub.
The English pub?
Yeah, I'm talking about the English pub.
Did it shut at 2 o'clock?
What?
Did it shut at 2 o'clock?
No, you idiot. It was open all the time. By the way, I've just discovered that Country File stars a bloke called Adam.
Adam?
Yeah.
Would you Adam and Eve it? Julian says, Follow the Queen for a Year was a con. It was clips of the 2 years put together to make a programme. Yeah. I'd seen most of the clips before.
Well, there you go.
So, anyway, that was Porky Vision. Loads more to come.
Adam Henson.
Adam Henson?
Yeah.
Not Adam Hansen.
No, Henson. He's the. Is he
related to Jim Henson?
What?
The Muppets guy.
No. Adam Henson.
Right. What does he do?
What
does he do?
He's the. I've just told you he's the presenter of Country File.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Great. It's been about the country, isn't it? That show.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out tomorrow, of course. It's Porky quiz time. It's the end of another week, amazingly. The weeks are really flying in. It's going to be April soon.
It's not the end of a week.
It is the end of a week. Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, it is.
Tomorrow, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tomorrow's the end of another week.
What are you talking about the end of a week for? We've got another show to do. I mean,
because it will be the end of another week. It'll be Friday.
Defeatist talk.
Why is it defeatist?
Well,
Why is it defeatist to state a fact?
Because I think that you're looking towards rest and recuperation before we finished our week's work.
I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow.
The
show tomorrow includes the Porky quiz, which is about the Crimean War.
I do sometimes wonder about your attitude.
Yeah, but I mean, if I was like you, I would rather, throw myself in front of a lorry.
Why? What's wrong with me?
Because you have nothing in your life apart from work.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
You don't have anything else going on.
Don't be idiotic.
Steve says this, best Porky Vision in months, greatest sort of reviews, delivered perfectly, 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
Has he gone mad?
No, you see.
He's feeling all right,
He recognises the unique flavour that I bring to TV reviewing.
The unique flavour?
Yes, unique flavour, yes, absolutely.
Here's one from... Tim the Trucker, which says, MG has dealt with tonight's torture of Porky's constant singing very well.
Yeah, well,
I think you've used up all your singing licences for the rest of the year.
I think not,
You've done way too many of them.
People love it. It brings flavour to the show, sort of thing that you can't do.
Once again, you don't know about the light and shade. You think you can do singing all the time. You can't do singing all the time. It's too much singing.
Didn't say good.
Patrick says, Porky's a seeker of truth and justice. Legend. Keep it up, fella.
Yes.
I don't know why he's saying that.
Yes.
Jack says, Parry, you're a nutter. You make me laugh every night. Why did you have a go at that alien guy?
Well,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I think he was a con man, that's why. Supposed to be an alien hunter, but he didn't find any aliens, did he?
Well, he hasn't yet.
Wasn't very good at hunting.
He hasn't yet. Stephen says, back to usual form on Porky Vision.
Thank you.
William says, the Queen will be 90 on April the 21st. Proper birthday. She has another birthday in June.
Yeah.
So why were you watching the earlier version of it then, if it wasn't her birthday?
Well, because it was on TV, and I'm a TV reviewer, so that's the whole idea. That's what you do, you Burke.
Here's one from Steve. Do you think Porky underwent water torture when all that fluid left his body in hospital? #bladderated.
Well, I'm telling you, that wasn't pleasant, but I stoically put up with it. You know what I mean? Yes, you do.
Max says that Laurence Olivier character from the film The Marathon Man always reminds me of IDS, which I'm not sure he's going to thank you for.
IDS...
Ian Duncan Smith.
Ian Duncan Smith, yeah. The Quiet Man.
Yeah, the Quiet Man.
It's not very quiet if you're getting a drill through your tooth and it's digging into your nerve.
No, exactly
God,
right.
I can't bear the thought of that.
Yeah.
Doesn't do me any good.
So...
Right, OK, now tomorrow night it's the Porky quiz. It's on the Crimea.
I've already said that.
I've already started researching it, by the way. Not that I need to, because I know an awful lot about the Crimea.
Dear.
Who do you think the boss of the Crimea was?
Vladimir Putin obviously thinks he is now, doesn't he?
No. I'm not going to give you any clues because, of course...
you're not giving me a quiz.
No.
I don't know much about the Crimea.
No, I know you don't. And
it's not,
I'm not going to tell you anything about the research I've been doing because then you'll go and gerrymander the questions.
No, because I have nothing to do with the questions. The questions are being compiled, probably as we speak, by the independent quizmasters.
And you've got your 2 sets of questions, have you?
I only have one set.
You know, here's the real questions. Oh, Porky's got the first 3 right. Right, give us the impossible questions.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want, we can film it, and then people can see that I have only one set of questions.
Yeah,
and
we
they
can
can
if you
see whether you're doing any cheating.
I don't cheat.
Really?
No. I'm the most honest man of in the kingdom.
You can't even say it, can you?
I am in kingdom. I was going to say.
You can't actually say honest in a sentence without messing it up.
I can.
You're about the most dishonest person I know.
It's you, Jerry Mans it, mate. I am as straight as a die, and you're bringing
lie straight in bed.
Stupid questions about films and things that don't matter.
You couldn't lie straight in bed.
It's not a Hollywood quiz, I will remind you.
Look at the time. This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 mics.
Look at the light. He's not an alien hunter.
Well, if you
Rob's a fantasist.
No, if you want to find gold...
A juice head.
No, you've got to go where the gold is, right?
Yeah, well, you've got to go where the aliens are. They're only on the moon, on the Mars.
Well, he can't go to Mars, can he?
Well, he says he's got all the information and secret research and all that, and then talks about amino acids. What does an amino acid look like?
Anyone would think the amount of rubbish you come out with, that you talk absolutely perfect sense all the time.
Well, I talk more sense than alien hunter Rob.
Really?
Who's never seen an alien.
Right, OK.
Blinking failure. And they claim that they've seen big footprints, but nobody's ever proven those big footprints were the Yetis.
Bigfoot footprints?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Big footprints.
Big footprints.
Bigfoot footprints.
Which could be Bigfoot footprints, indeed.
Yeah, Bigfoot footprints.
Yeah.
If you love the 2 Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
That's so amusing, that.
It is funny.
I think I'll just roll over and die laughing.
Yeah, I think we might do.